Morning, everyone. It is another beautiful Sunday for some football. Welcome to the Pigskin pregame. We got week 4 now. Good to have you guys in here. As always, the doctor is in. I've got my coffee rolling, and it looks like we've already got someone in here, Pear Champ, saying, "Hey, Doc, hope you are doing well." Thanks, Pear Champ. Appreciate having you in here early in the morning, but I am doing pretty well. It's been a crazy week, man. Let me take a sip of coffee, but we had a hurricane, so there was that. Yeah, been a bit of a crazy week so far. Very busy with work this week. Just had a lot of stuff I had to cover, and yeah, guys might have seen on the news, but Helene rolled through. It actually ended up hitting a lot of Georgia, which is pretty surprising, right? Like I never figured living up in North Georgia that like we'd have to worry about a hurricane, and we were pretty lucky. It ended up veering off to the east a little bit, so it wasn't that bad. But we had to like prepare for it and everything. Like I had to go stock up on some non-perishable food and get a wireless charger on Thursday. And I was like, oh, the power is going to go out, stuff like that. We might have flooding. Didn't end up going into the newsroom on Friday for work, which was kind of nice. I kind of enjoyed this whole work from home thing. Never really done that before. But yeah, man, it was kind of crazy. So been a bit of a crazy week, so I'm definitely very excited to just kind of like sit down and chill and do nothing but watch football today. I didn't get to catch a lot of the college football action yesterday. I had work both in the morning and at night. I did end up catching the end of that Georgia-Alabama game, though. That was pretty crazy. Pretty crazy, like Georgia was able to like fight their way back into it. But yeah, man, tough loss, but it's 12 teams now, so Georgia will be fine, probably. I mean, they can't keep losing, but it's Alabama on the road. But we're not here to talk about college football today. We're here to talk about the good old NFL, and as my title is saying, we got grudge matches galore this week. It's a juicy week for storylines. You look at the slate, you might not see like some of the greatest games in the world, like the NFL maybe burned through some of their most marquee matchups early in the season. Then they're going to save a lot of the bangers for late in the year. But, we got some good games still, right? Like Bills-Ravens, that gets the heart pumping a little bit, even though the Ravens are 1-2, like two of the best teams probably in the NFL still going at it. But grudge matches galore. We've got some good rivalries. We've got some good storylines, and I feel like we're gonna have some good games today. So I am actually pretty fired up for this slate. Fired up to talk about it, right? I didn't get to do this last week. I was out in Michigan. So it's good to be back for the Pigskin pregame, and I will be going live again on Monday night for the doubleheader again. So that'll be pretty exciting too. We've got one intriguing game on Monday night. The other one might be a bit of a sloppy affair, but hey. Last time it was on Monday night, that was fun too. But anyways, enough beating around the bush. You guys know the drill at this point, right? Let's start our morning off like anyone should start their morning off, right? A little coffee and a little bit of immaculate grid. So let's get that pulled up here, right? Haven't really taken a peek at it yet. I did have it open up. I saw a few of the teams, but we're going to try and did it again. Okay, hold on a sec. I'm glad I caught it now. I don't know why it keeps doing this. All right. Nope, not that. We don't want that. Not that. There we go. I had to like fiddle with my setup a little bit too. I unplugged my Xbox, long story short, because Prime was not working on my big TV upstairs on Thursday when I wanted to watch the game. So I had to bring my Xbox up there because the internet was going crazy because, hurricane. As Pear Champ is saying, it sounds wild. Yeah, it was wild. Again, we're very lucky that it ended up missing us for the most part. We got a lot of rain, some flooding, but I know like some places got hit pretty bad. So you can only hope that everyone's doing okay when they're in kind of the main path of it. But saying sounds wild. Good thing we got football to distract us from reality when our mental health is linked to either team winning or if our fantasy team wins. Hey, we're speaking of one of the grudge matches. I can't help but notice our teams are playing today. That's pretty interesting. But all right, here we go. Immaculate grid. Don't worry, we'll talk plenty about Packers-Vikings once we get there. But let's try and get some crazy pulls here today. I was playing this week. Can't remember what week it was. Or what day it was. I don't know. There was some crazy like 0.4% pull. I was like, man, why can't I do this on stream? But we've got Falcons, Rams, Broncos, Rams, Steelers, Rams, Falcons, Cardinals, Broncos, Cardinals, Steelers, Cardinals, Falcons, Ravens, Broncos, Ravens, and Steelers Ravens. All right, so off the dome, right? I'm thinking Dante Fowler would be a pretty good one right here, right? Dante Fowler Jr. kind of bounced around a little bit. Obviously can't do coaches, otherwise Raheem Morris would have been a good one. We'll take Dante Fowler for 5%, not bad. How about a little Wes Welker here for Rams Broncos? Remember, he actually got traded from the Broncos to the Rams in 2014, 2015. One of those seasons. Middle of the season, he got traded back when the Rams were in St. Louis. And we'll go with that. 3% for Wes Welker. All right, not bad. We're off to a good start here. We're going to go fairly quickly through this one. Rams Steelers, that's an interesting one. Man, no one's like coming off the top of my head here. Oh my gosh, what about Van Jefferson? Van Jefferson. Yeah, that'll work. 3% for Van Jefferson. We're keeping it under 5 right now. Not bad. All right, Falcons Cardinals. Did John Abraham ever play for the Cardinals at the end of his career? I want to say that he did. Oh, we got him. Nice. Or maybe it was early in his career, but I definitely like know some of these polls because like I've seen their headshots and like they're wearing the jersey of the last team that they are on. That's probably the reason I know that John Abraham was on the Cardinals, right? I mean, he could not have been there very long. Yeah, he had 2 seasons on there. He made a Pro Bowl? Interesting. 11 and a half sacks. All right, maybe he was just like good, and that's how I remember. But yeah, very good career for a long time. John Abraham. I had no idea he made a Pro Bowl with the Cardinals, though. That's crazy. All right, Cardinals, Broncos. This is another one of those. Like, I only know this because I've definitely put this guy for Eagles, Broncos before, and he was wearing a Cardinals jersey. How about Evan Mathis? That's crazy. All-Pro guard for a few years. Wow. 0.2% for Evan Mathis. There he is in the Cardinals jersey. He must have played there like 1 year to end his career or something. Evan Mathis. Remember him? He was a beast in like Madden Ultimate Team too. Dude, he played everywhere. One-time All-Pro. He was good with the Eagles. Here we go. I had no idea he started with the Panthers and also played with the Dolphins. And the Bengals. I only thought that he played with like the Eagles, Broncos, and Cardinals. Interesting. All right. Well, we'll take Evan Mathis. We're on a roll right now. I can't lie. Oh my gosh. There's no way I get this one. Hold on. I feel like I've guessed this dude before and I've been burned by it. But Steelers, Cardinals, I've got a crazy one. There's no way. I think I'm going to get burned by it. Why do I want to say LaRod Stevens Howling? Bro, return man? Oh my gosh. I'm going to do it. Oh, LaRod Stevens Howling. Get out of town. All right. Ravens, Falcons. What about Courtney Upshaw? I feel like I guessed him like back before there's even an actual official Immaculate Grid. Back when it was like crossover grid, like when they didn't have one for football yet. I remember guessing Courtney Upshaw. Right? Oh my gosh. All right, we're killing this one. Broncos, Ravens, Darian Stewart, right? Darian Stewart. He played for the Broncos, right? Oh my goodness. All right, we got one more here. One more. All right, Ravens, Steelers. This has been one of my better grids of all time, I got to say. I'm glad this one is on live. Ravens, Steelers. Why is this one hard? Did Mike Wallace ever play for the Ravens? I want to say he did. I'm a little scared to guess it though, right? I got to get a perfect grid here, right? I can't soil this with a miss at the very end, even if I have to play it a little more safe. I feel like there's been some like wide receiver crossover between these two teams. The doc is cooking. That will have seconds. Let's go, Pearchamp. Maybe you can help me get me a little assist for this last one here. Ravens, Steelers. I don't know why this one is so tricky. I'm scared to put Mike Wallace, to be honest with you. Like, I want to say he did sneak on the Ravens, right? Because he went Steelers, and then he went to the Dolphins. I know he played with the Eagles and the Vikings for a little bit. I'm like 99% sure he played for the Ravens. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Let's go. All right, 15%. I can't even be mad. That's actually crazy. What was the rarity score? 35? All right, let's go. Now, that was pretty good. We got a few under 1% here. Man. That's awesome. All right. That is our best immaculate grid that we've had on stream, I think. Not bad. All right. Well, got that out of the way. Now our brain is warmed up a little bit, right? 10:10 in the morning here. Some of us are still waking up, right? There's a reason I have this with me. I actually woke up fairly early. I went to the grocery store this morning because I just don't really have a lot of food here right now. And I was like, all right, let's just get our groceries for the week. Now, I truly do not want to like leave my couch the rest of the day. So I was like, I'll just get these groceries now at like 8 in the morning. Their card readers were broken throughout the entire store, which is kind of tough. So I had to use cash like an old man, but I did have enough cash, thankfully, that I could pay for my grocery haul for the week. So that was pretty nice. So, hey, cash is free, right? It doesn't go on your credit card bill. It's free. But, all right, time for the fantasy hotline, right? So this is your chance to kind of hit me with any sort of fantasy questions that you might have, right? A little stardom, sit-em action, trying to figure out some trades, anything like that. Just any fantasy game whatsoever. And as always, I've got my promise that I am going to give you some nice, honest, good advice, even if I'm playing against you for all I know, right? Actually, before we do that, though, before we jump into fantasy, let's take a look at the picks competition, see how people are doing here. Hold on a second. I feel like I said that like we'd be checking in every week, right? Let me find it here. Pick'em games. All right. I'll get it pulled up on my screen here in a sec. The Dr. Pigskin Pick'em. I was monitoring this a little bit earlier. We got a nice race at the top right now. Look at that. We got a 3-way tie in first place. 3 people with 30 wins so far. Hey, that's pretty good. Excuse me. Ganymede. Rakesha Brown has been killing it. And Green Gandalf, too. All 3 of these feel like they've been pretty consistently up at the top. Look at that. In the top 91%. Or no, I guess it would be the top 9%. 91st percentile, though. Yeah, it's still a tight race, right? Like it's a long season. I mean, even last place has got 20. Like you could conceive that like they could make up a 10-game gap for the rest of the year, right? But yeah, we've got a heck of a race right now here in the picks competition. I'm chilling down in 12th. I'm barely above 500 right now. It just kind of shows how crazy of a season it's been, right? Like a lot of upsets so far, and a lot of the upsets that I've been picking have not been happening, but then the upsets that are happening are the ones that I'm not picking. But we did get the Thursday night game right. I feel like pretty much everyone got the Thursday night game right. So we got a great race in the picks competition right now. But here we go. Fantasy hotline, right? I'm going to set my lineups. We'll start with the ESPN league since we're just in here already, right? Let's check in on Team Woodstock. Man, we had a tough loss last week. Lost by 1 point, man. 1 point, little over 1 point, but it was a heartbreaker. You know, our team's been playing pretty well right now. I like some of the guys that I've got, right? Jamar Chase finally coming to life a little bit. He was my top pick in this league. Nico Collins obviously has been a beast. But dealing with some injuries, A.J. Brown, my 2nd round pick, out again. He's out again. Kind of tough, right? But I feel like I'm pretty good right here. These 2 running backs playing against each other. I've got a lot of these 2 running backs in fantasy, actually. Do I have another tight end? I don't really want to play Pitts, dude. I don't know. I just can't trust the guy. Whatever. I don't think I do. Fine. I'll just stick with Kyle Pitts. Chiefs D versus the Chargers. I like that. Even with Herbert out there, right? He's kind of banged up right now. I kind of question the Chargers' decision to play Justin Herbert today, but that's just we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to make any changes here. Addison is finally back, but I'm not willing to put him in over Chase or Collins or even Najee against a scrumptious-looking Colts run defense if you're Najee Harris. Zach Moss is an interesting one because the Panthers defense still probably isn't very good, but I'll probably roll with this as is, right? All right. Let's see. Here's April 14th, 2024. If you know, you know. That's Rhett Ellison. There's like maybe 2 people that would understand that joke. But MS is in here. Welcome to the stream, MS. Good to have you in here. Good football morning. Saying upsets have been cleaning house this year and saying that the easiest upset of the week is the Rams over the Bears. I could see it, man. That's an interesting game right there. I wonder what the line even is for that one. Like, I feel like those 2 teams are pretty on fairly even footing right now. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I feel like with how banged up the Rams are, maybe a lot of people are expecting the Bears to win, and I may or may not have picked the Bears, but that one does scare me a little bit, right? I don't know. I keep picking the Bears, I guess, which is weird as a Vikings fan, but Pair Champ with a fantasy question. Got two of them, actually. He's thinking Chiefs defense against the Chargers with no Herbert or Texans against the 0-3 Jags. And the next question is Watson on Green Bay with Love back or Worthy on the Chiefs. I would probably go with Watson over Worthy. I don't know, man. Like, not to pat myself on the back here a little bit, right? But like week one, we're like, oh, I was like, oh crap, maybe I was wrong about like Xavier Worthy not being like that great. Like, look at that. He had 2 big touchdowns or whatever. But honestly, that's all it's really been for him so far, right? Like, he had the cool reverse and then he scored on a busted coverage. Every game, it's been like 2 catches for him, right? Like, he just doesn't really fit what they want to do. Not necessarily what they want to do on offense, but what they can do, right? Like, it was all, oh, the return of the deep ball. Mahomes wants to throw deep again. And I don't deny that they want to do that. But again, like, the way defenses are playing, they're just not going to let him do it, right? And so it's the Rashee Rice show. Like, he's probably going to be their leading receiver, and they still haven't quite got Kelsey going, but I feel like Worthy is pretty comfortably like down the pecking order right now. I mean, you might see him pop a big one here or there, and then like, shoot, you left like 15 points on your bench, but I would probably go with Watson, especially with Love back, right? Love seems to love going to Christian Watson a lot. As for the defenses, I would still probably roll with the Chiefs defense. I've got a few things to say about this Jags-Texans game once we get there. I am picking the Texans for the record, but I've got a few things to say. But I don't know. I mean, I think the Chiefs defense overall is just better. And I think Herbert's going to play, but he's going to be very limited. And I think Alt is injured. I don't know if Alt's going to play or not, but the Chargers have a weird way of making those games close, but I would probably roll with the Chiefs defense personally. MS is saying +3 for the Rams. Seems crazy that the Rams are getting 3. Yeah, I mean, after the win that they had last week, and maybe they like eked it out a little bit, but still, that was a little surprising. I thought it was going to be a little bit closer than that. That is actually a little surprising. I guess it is in Chicago, and that Bears defense is pretty good, but it's hard to bet against Stafford and McVay, isn't it? It's hard to bet against those guys. All right, here we go. So, nuts. No, this was the league that I had Pitts in that I wanted to sit because I had another tight end. Whatever. I left Ferguson on my bench. That's tough. That's on me being a lazy owner, right? But, I mean, we've got Josh. We've got Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. Again, this is a 6-man league, so it's not the craziest. I will say, one of my friends, one of my league mates, dropped Anthony Richardson. I scooped him up right away. I'm not completely out on him yet. I was like, I just want to have him. You never know. I'll just keep him. It's not like he needs to play. I've got Josh at quarterback, but I got a notification at work. I was like, hold on, let me put in a waiver claim real quick. I just want to have him on the team. Let's see. I guess I could put Cup on IR if I want to. Part of me wants to sit Achan and put in like Aaron Jones or even DJ Moore. I think I am going to put in DJ Moore, actually. I really like DJ Moore this week. If we're going to be talking about Bears Rams, maybe a little pigskin parlay action later. I might get a little DJ Moore action going. I actually traded for DJ Moore in this league. I traded James Conner for DJ Moore because I was like, I don't really need like 4 or 5 running backs, right? And Oscar really wanted a running back. So I was like, I'll take DJ Moore. How about? So I don't know, man. I still think he's a really good player. He's got a nice matchup this week. I'm going to put DJ Moore in my flex, but that's the one change I'll make here. Let's go to Sleeper. Check chat while we're doing that. MS is saying, who do you think has the better chance today at the upset, the Vikings over the Packers or the Saints over the Falcons? Both Saints and Vikings are getting 2.5 points. Well, without giving away too much, once we go into the Sunday slates, I'm going to say Saints. See, I don't know. It's so tough. Like, I just instinctually have been like picking against the Vikings every week now, right? Because like, okay, this has got to end at some point, right? And I honestly think the Vikings match up fairly well with the Packers, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm a little scared for today, but today should be a fun game. So I'm excited for it, but we got games solved in here too. Let's go. It seems like I just say the word Jaguars and game solved pops up. Same way I say Shane Waldron and Jack will pop up. But game solved asking, has the Vikings defense or offense been better? I would say defense hands down, right? And the offense has been pretty good. I'm really impressed with the running game. Like that's what's really gotten me excited, right? All I'm going to say, right, I've been beating this drum all offseason. Like, hey, this Vikings defense might be pretty good. I did not anticipate it being this good, though. And I mean, it's been against quality competition, right? A-plus coaching, massively improved roster, and teams don't know what the heck to do against it right now. Now, I do think LaFleur might have a plan. We'll see, right? This is a real big test. Packers in Lambeau with Jordan Love coming back. Man, that's tough. And the Packers can run the ball a little bit. And I'm still a little worried about like, hey, maybe a team could just pound it on us, right? 49ers had some success with that with Jordan Mason. But overall, man, I mean, there's just like, it's just very balanced throughout, right? Like there's no true weakness outside of like maybe the interior defensive line. They lead the league in sacks. They're like top 3 in everything else. I'm beyond fired up about this Vikings defense. And if this keeps up, man, we got to have some conversations about where they rank in the league, man. Like seriously, but good question. I like the offense enough, and it's exciting because the offense hasn't been at full strength yet this year. And once Hawkinson comes back, then hey, maybe they're cooking a little bit more, but I would say the defense is the reason the Vikings are 3-0 for sure. The defense has been incredible. MS saying Vikings seem legit this year. NFC North is looking tough, though. 3 good teams in the Bears. And I'm not counting out the Bears to like turn it around yet, though. That's the thing, too. Like, it's a tough division, man. Like, it's early, but this is a big game between the Vikings and the Packers. Big, big game. Parachamp saying he would say the Vikings defense is better, too. Yeah, but Sam Darnold has been a lot better than last year's quarterback shuffling. Oh, I mean, anything's better than Nick Mullins, right? And like Josh Dobbs outside of those 2 games where it was fun. Jaron Hall. Yeah. All right. Here's one of my dynasty teams. Chris Olave is questionable. I do have Shakir and Jameson Williams on my bench. Jameson Williams versus Seattle. Shakir versus Baltimore is an interesting one. I feel like Olave is going to play, though. Against the Falcons, that's kind of a tough matchup, though. You know what? I'm going to sit Olave. I always like to say about this team, I have more wide receivers than I know what to do with. I'm tempted to play Shakir. I'm going to do it, dude. I just can't help myself. I love putting Khalil Shakir in my starting lineup. He's been a beast this year. He's so good, man. Like, he's seriously just such a good player. And you know what? I kind of like the matchup against the Ravens, a defense that's kind of let up some big plays in the passing game and is a little weak over the middle of the field. And that's where Shakir likes to eat, right? Get him those yards after the catch on those drag routes, those slants, all that good stuff. Josh is good at hitting that. Yeah, I think that's the only change I'll make. I traded for DeAndre Swift. I gave away, what receiver was it? Zay Flowers. I had Zay Flowers on this team too. Like seriously, I had a stupid amount of wide receivers. I know Swift wasn't very good, but I was like, maybe he'll be decent this year. Nah, dude, he's on the bench. I'm like this close to dropping him. He stinks. I've got Tony Pollard in over him, but like this team a lot. Let's check out FC Dr. Pigskin, which had a nice little performance from Jake Ferguson, right? Big game against James here, Josh Alien. This is the 2-quarterback league. This is the one I was scared about when Love got hurt. Love is probably going to be back, and you know what? If it's announced like game time, hey, actually he's not playing, I've still got Malik Willis too. Shout out Malik Willis for like saving me, honestly. And Nick Chubb is supposed to be coming back fairly soon, potentially, but very injured on this team right now, but very deep. I like Bucky Irving and Eric all kind of stashed away a little bit, and we got Yoshi too. I like the depth of this team a lot, but we got Ferguson at tight end. He already played, got me a nice 11.9. DJ Moore again, man. A lot of DJ Moore, a lot of Nico Collins, a lot of Brian Thomas, Najee. This is a classic doctor team right here, right? But switch over to Yahoo. Don't really need to make any changes with that other team. And we are 3-0 in this one, man. We're rolling. We are rolling. Game Solve saying, I guess you could say the Vikings are in the good place. Hey, we are right now at least. And you know, the good place is a fickle beast. It's a very fickle beast. You never know when you might leave. So you got to try and enjoy it while you're there, you know. MS saying the Bears are dumpster fires. They could have had Jaden Daniels +2 first and other picks and players. You know, it's not been good so far. I'm going to kind of defend Caleb a little bit, though. I honestly think he's gotten better every week. There's still maybe a few questionable decisions that he's making, but I don't know. He just gives you enough each week where it's like, nah, this was the right pick. It was the right pick. The interior offensive line is much worse than we thought. Shane Waldron is much worse than I thought. I'm not going to put a lot of it on Caleb. I know it's funny to like go to bat for like the first overall pick, be like, it's not his fault, you know, but like, I don't know, man. I'm not ready to put Jaden over Caleb just yet. But Jaden has been much, much better than I anticipated. I got to give him props, man. Like, the accuracy has been phenomenal. And he's been, like, throwing over the middle of the field and like getting drilled and making throws. And that's stuff I was worried about. It's like, all right, I see you, man. I see you. Like, I respect the heck out of that. Like, he is like been better, just straight up better than I thought he would be. And you know what? I got to respect that. I always respect a player, not that they care or know, right? But like, I don't know. I respect when players prove me wrong. So far through 3 games, he's proven me wrong. I honestly thought it was going to be pretty rough for him, but nah, man, he throws a nice ball, doesn't he? He does. Game solved with fantasy question. Who would I start, Olave or Ayuk? Yeah, Olave probably is the safer play, right? I love me some Brandon Ayuk, but again, that's still just a crowded 49ers offense, and apparently it's Juwan Jennings season now. I don't know. I could see Ayuk. Like, Ayuk is going to get his eventually, right? Like, he just has to. He's too good of a player not to. Debo has the injury concerns. He says he plans to play today. I actually didn't know that, so thank you for the update there. But I'm with you, Daddy Messi. I would probably say Olave, although that Falcons secondary is a tough matchup. It is, especially if Olave wants to work over the middle in the slot. That's Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons territory. Man, a lot of teams can't really throw over the middle on the Falcons, and then they've got A.J. Terrell on the outside. Am I talking myself out of Olave a little bit? You know what? You do what you want. I might play Ayuk. I don't know. I'm a little... watch, Olave's going to go for like 150, 2 touchdowns now. I'm a little scared, though. I don't know. This Falcons secondary is pretty good. It's pretty good, man. But Olave is probably a little bit safer. I will give you that. MS saying, nope, they could have fixed their line. It's not just Caleb versus Jaden. It's Caleb or Jaden in a hole, and even bigger than what they got for Bryce to fix that dumpster fire of a line they got. Easiest decision of all time to take the massive haul, and I get that, right? And I think, just to play devil's advocate, like, I don't think the Bears, let alone a lot of people, expected the line to be a dumpster fire, but I do totally get that, right? Like, man, you could have just, like, you could have gotten a Godfather haul for that pick. So I get that. And, you know, on my last video, I was like, hey, maybe you don't always need to take the quarterback. So I'm not going to be too hypocritical. I totally understand where you're coming from, though. Through 3 weeks, it's like, you know, they thought they put Caleb in a good spot. Maybe they didn't. You know. But Pair Champ saying he finds it funny how people in the preseason had said Caleb is the next Mahomes, and he's not been it yet. Jaden will probably get Rookie of the Year. I do wonder who is getting Coach of the Year. It might be one of the 2 coaches coaching in this Vikings-Packers game. My pick was Matt LaFleur. I don't know, dude. I think he could be one of the front runners right now with what he did with Malik Willis. And if the Packers can, like, maybe win this division, which I think is very possible, I like LaFleur, to be honest. As a Vikings fan, I should be ecstatic. Fair enough. You know, the Bears are worse than I thought it'd be, so we'll take it. Fair enough. All right, here we go. Yahoo League. Another Kyler-led team, right? Another Nico Collins. I feel like I have Nico Collins on like every single team of mine almost. Saquon and Jonathan Taylor. My goodness. I'm going to stick with this too. Cleveland versus Vegas. Yeah. All right. Easy enough, right? There we go. That was the fantasy hotline. Let's get into the Sunday slate here. But I'm loving the active chat right here. MS saying the Bears had a chance to get back-to-back legendary hauls to fix all the holes on their team. Yeah, I mean, could you imagine if they had like back-to-back years where they have like 8 picks in the top 100 or I don't know, something crazy like that, right? I wonder who would have like sold the farm. Like maybe this team would have, but that would have been a lot. I don't know if the Bears would have been eager to trade within the division, but yeah, man, we're through September. Caleb has certainly not lived up to the hype so far. I'm not ready to move on from him yet, though. I mean, not a hot take, right? Like, hey, he is the consensus QB1, but he's got a big test today against this Rams team. Like, all right, like, let's see you like actually put up some points against the Rams now. You know, like it's time to like make some plays, right? Like, this is a defense that can be got. Like, all right, you're the first overall pick. You've been hyped up. This was supposed to be like the greatest situation ever. Like, all right, let's put up some points now. Let's win a game a little bit more convincingly than we did last week. Because I didn't watch a ton of last week's games at all. I was in the airport. I did manage to catch like most of the Vikings-Texans game, and I went back and I've watched some action, like just watched it back a little bit. But there's a lot of interceptions in that Bears-Colts game. My goodness. Parachamp asking, does DJ McCarthy go to Vikings games or is he still resting? I honestly don't know. I feel like if he was there, we would have seen like shots of him on the sideline. I honestly don't know. I bet you he's like rehabbing or something and just like resting up. I don't know if like he's been cleared to travel with the team yet, but that's it. I'll look into that today. Be like, oh, there's JJ McCarthy on the sideline in Lambeau. There he is. Like, what a good teammate or something like that. I feel like we would have seen like some aggregators post this at some point now though, like a screenshot of JJ McCarthy on the sideline, like all caps, like JJ McCarthy injured but with the team. This is a leader. Fire emoji. It's like, let's go. Yeah, hype my team up a little bit more. ML football. Let's go. Hype us up. But I honestly don't know. Games is saying, yeah, we can argue the Bears should have taken Jaden to get picks, but imagine the fan reaction if they decided to screw their one chance at a generational player when past QBs have been terrible. I mean, it was a civil war between the fan base, man, between Fields or Caleb. That's a whole nother conversation. But division is tough with Green Bay, Detroit, and the Vikings. Imagine if the Bears were looking like a 12-win team. Division would be a bloodbath. And even if, like, these divisional games are weird, right? It is tough, but we got Laywell in here. Welcome to the stream, Laywell, saying, Doc, I'm late, but good morning. Hey, no worries about that, right? Good to have you in here. You're in here just in time for us to start the Sunday slate, so let's do it. We've got a good one, right? Grudge matches galore. And as I say every week, right, the Vikings, they're my favorite team on ESPN, like my profile, right? So they always pop up first. That's the perk of being the Doc's favorite team, right? You get talked about first. And I honestly think, I don't know, without bias, outside of the Sunday night game, this might be the game of the week right here, to be honest with you, with the massive divisional implications, a good old-fashioned grudge match, a rivalry, A-plus coaching on both sides. It's in Lambeau. Addison is back now. Jordan Love is back now. This is as good as it gets, man. Vikings versus Packers and Lambeau. Kevin Harlan on the mic as well. Man, if your favorite team is not playing in the noon or 1 o'clock window or whatever time zone you're in, if your favorite team is not playing, I suggest you tune into this one right here. It's easy to get excited about this one. It's easy to get excited. Here come the Vikings at 3-0. Back-to-back wins over legit playoff caliber opponents, right? Those were in the cozy confines of US Bank Stadium. Stadium was rocking. Now you got to go do it on the road. And here's Jordan Love, a guy with very big expectations coming into the year, right? Very talented quarterback. Gets injured at the end of a disappointing week one. He's back going up against the diabolical genius of Brian Flores. Matt LaFleur is maybe in the best form of his life as a coach, scheming up this run game, making it work with Malik Willis. There's a lot of fascinating matchups here. Man. Welcome Mono into the stream as well. Oh, good to have you in here, Mono. Saying, fitting that a rookie QB heralded as the greatest thing since sliced bread has looked toast so far. Well played, Mono. And MS saying, if they were going to trade Fields to get a new QB, they should have fired Eberflus. That was a decision that got a lot of criticism. Yeah, a lot of people don't like Eberflus. But anyways, so I've said just like a few minutes ago, I am picking the Packers. I do think the Vikings do match up well with the Packers though, right? And just like, again, maybe this is like the paranoia in me, like what's going to go wrong for the Vikings, right? And one of the big things is a lot of people are saying like, you know, well, like the Sam Darnold meltdown, or even just not even like meltdown, but like a Sam Darnold bad game is bound to happen soon. And honestly, like to an extent, I get that because you watch the Vikings and Darnold, like 85% of the time, honestly looks pretty good. Like he's running the offense well. He's doing what he needs to do, right? He'll make a few good throws. He's got some good athleticism. He can escape some tight pockets, make some throws on the run. He's chucked it downfield. He's done everything you could have wanted and more. But there's like 10 to 15% of the time where Darnold just, I don't know, the voices kind of take over and it's like, oh, busted play on a running play. I need to overhand pitch it backwards. And like, wow, that's lucky that the Vikings recovered it. Or, oh, like I just didn't see this linebacker and I almost threw an interception, right? Like he's gotten away with a few of them so far. And like eventually, like, I don't know, eventually the defense might take advantage and pounce on one of these. Hasn't really happened yet. Although I will say like that happens some, but it's not quite as common as you might think. Like, for the most part, like, this Vikings offense is on schedule. They can run the ball really well, right? This Packers run defense has struggled against the run for years now, right? Aaron Jones is looking great. The run game looks great. And then in the passing game, right? Again, this new defensive coordinator for the Packers, Jeff Hafley, very aggressive, brings a safety down in the box. He trusts Xavier McKinney kind of out on an island to kind of be the single high safety, a lot of man coverage, right? Complete opposite of Joe Barry. A lot of people excited for that. Not a lot of people like Joe Barry in Green Bay. All makes sense. And the past few weeks, they've played well. But again, the downside with that, when you run that type of defense, is when you go up against some real hoopers at wide receiver, that's when you run into trouble. You're going to do one-on-one man coverage against A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You know, you've got some good players, but man, they're going to get theirs. And they did week one. That's what happened, right? The Eagles eventually figured out, like, hey, like, let's just go to A.J. Brown. And he went for like 120 yards or something, right? Do you want to play that game with Jefferson and Addison back? I don't know, right? So like that might be something that tilts in favor of the Vikings, right? But if you don't do that, then that opens up your defense against the run a little bit more. You don't have that extra player in the box. It's a tough game to play, right? So offensively, I honestly think the Vikings match up very well with the Packers, but I'm just a little scared, right? But the Packers also match up as well as they can offensively against the Vikings, right? The one thing that really scares me with the Vikings defense still is the run defense a little bit, right? 49ers week 2 ran the ball really well. Jordan Mason had a great game on the ground. They were just kind of pounding the rock with Mason once they got back in it. And it looked pretty good. And again, like, outside of Harrison Phillips, you don't have the greatest defensive line if you're the Vikings. And this Packers run game is nasty. The offensive line is great. LaFleur is great. Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson are great. Who knows? They might even like put in Malik Willis in some sub packages. That's what some people have been speculating. So if you're the Packers, you keep it close, you can run the ball. Man, you're feeling pretty good. You're feeling pretty good. But speaking of trash talkers, we'll get to chat here in a sec. Possibly no Jair Alexander. I know he's questionable, but I also saw that the Packers just elevated 2 corners to the game day roster yesterday. It's like, oh, he's probably not going to play that much, is he? Which is a shame, because you want to talk about some trash talking. The battles between Jair and Jefferson and then Jair and Addison last year, those are fun. That gives the rivalry a little bit of pop, right? I'd be bummed if Jair didn't see the field this week, because we all know the history between him and Jefferson, and then Addison kind of got his against Jair last year. There's some good like trash talk and chippiness between these guys. So I hope he's out there. It'd be way more fun of a game if he is. But again, I've been saying this whole time, like, oh, Vikings match up well. I don't know, dude. It's in Lambeau. The Packers' run game was working. LaFleur did pretty good against Flores last year on New Year's Eve, right? Packers kind of just like rolled into US Bank, and granted, the Vikings defense talent-wise was a little bit worse, but the Vikings aren't going to win every game, right? I am going to go with the Packers here. I'm going to say Packers 24, Vikings 20. That's going to be my pick. I don't know, man. Like, it's yeah. I'm surprised, like the majority of people in the pick'em, like if you look at like across like all of ESPN, it's like 70% or something are picking the Vikings. I don't know. I'm just a little scared. Is all. But I just hope the Vikings show up in this one, right? I just hope we don't get embarrassed. But I am going to pick the Packers. Let's go to another grudge match. Shoot, I just went on the wrong screen. Well, actually, that works too. But I'm trying something new with my setup here. I'm trying to just like, instead of like ADHD bouncing around the depth charts, I've got the depth charts on another screen so I can just kind of like look through some of the matchups that intrigue me, right? But we'll check chat here in a sec. But yeah, I'm fired up for that one. Laywell saying he saw my commentator rankings. I'd have Harlan as my number 1 personally, but I liked your list. The Joe Buck redemption arc has been very nice to see. Let's go. I'm with you, man. Now, Joe Buck has been in his bag, and I'm fired up for Kevin Harlan on the mic for the Vikings again. Dude, he's just so electric, and he's so good at basketball too, right? Like, he's like the best all around right now, I gotta say. He gets gold medal for all around, that's for sure. MS is saying, have you been selecting the other team versus the Vikings every week? You might have no choice but to keep picking versus your Vikings. I did pick them to win week 1 against the Giants. But yeah, week 2 and 3, yeah, I picked the 49ers and Texans. And I feel like those were even like sensible enough picks, right? Like, oh, we might win one of those if we're lucky. Did not expect to be 3-0 whatsoever. Game Solved saying, who is the worst trash talker in the league? Laywell saying Jamar Chase. Got humbled by the Browns and Chiefs last year. He did. Yeah, that was funny. Called them some elves. Oh, Jamar. Nah, there's some funny trash talkers out there. I think Jair is hilarious, honestly. Like, I think he's so funny. Like, remember when he like made himself captain and just walked out there for the coin toss, and then he tried to house like a 108-yard interception return week 1. It's like, dude, what are you doing? He's so funny, dude. Pear Champ says Greg Olson is his favorite. No, Greg Olson's a fantastic color commentator. It's such a shame that Tom Brady like took his spot, man. Like, I get you brought in Brady, and I'm not saying like, oh, Brady shouldn't be in the booth, even though like I don't think he's been that great. I think it's dumb how Brady got to take over the top spot by default, though. Like, I don't know, man. It's a shame that they broke up Olson and Burkhardt, but I tell you what, Olson and Joe Davis, hey, I think I still like would give the slight edge to Burkhardt over Joe Davis for play-by-play, but overall team, like play-by-play and color, right? Give me Fox's B team, Davis and Olsen over Burkhardt and Brady, honestly. Dude never stopped yapping. Chris Carter, that's a good one. He was a little bit before my time, but I like it. I say that as I'm wearing the Randy Moss jersey. All right, let's get into the second grudge match, the second game of the week, right? This is a rivalry fueled by like genuine hatred, and I love this, right? You don't see a lot of this in the NFL these days. These two teams genuinely can't stand each other. These organizations, these fan bases cannot stand each other. I bet you we'll be seeing some trash talk here today, right? Last time we saw these two teams out on the field was what, New Year's Day? Not New Year's Day. No, it was the final week of the regular season last year, like late or early January. That was the infamous like 42-17, Jameis Winston audibling out of a kneel down to get Jamal Williams a last second touchdown. Arthur Smith didn't like it. Then he ended up getting fired like a few hours later. Dude, this is another big game, right? We're here in the Benz, Falcons, Saints. Falcons have been looking a little better week by week, right? They played the Chiefs pretty close last week. The defense has honestly been a lot better than I expected. Still worried about the pass rush, but okay. Kirk looks a little more comfortable week by week. Bijan still looks so good. I know the numbers haven't always been there, but it's just so obvious that Bijan Robinson is a good player, right? They got a big shot to Pitts last week. Drake London been putting together some nice performances, right? Here you go, though. You got to take care of business against the Saints if you're the Falcons. Like, you know, the NFC South maybe doesn't have like a super team in there, but like there are some like serious organizations in this division, and like it's hard to put yourself in a 1-3 hole, man. You're at home, right? You've been at home a few weeks now. Like, you got to get a win here, right? And the Saints, like, they've been a tough out, and they lost last week, but like they have like shown a lot, like, hey, like maybe this isn't like one of the worst teams in the NFL. Maybe if you do protect Derek Carr, like he can still throw the ball around. And Alvin Kamara being like a good back has been so shocking. I honestly thought it was over for him. And we all know, like, for as much as I like to like have some fun with Dennis Allen, like he's had some good defenses, man. At some point you just got to take that at face value. But some injuries for both teams here, right? Falcons, I'm looking at right now, they've got Caleb McGarry out. Their offensive line a little banged up. Not great news against a pretty good-looking Saints defense. And, you know, you got Kirk, who kind of struggles with pressure some. That's not the best news, but overall, the Saints are even more banged up, right? No Eric McCoy, who's been a great center for them so far. Tough, right? No Cesar Ruiz at guard. Tough, because this is a team that wants to get outside and run the ball, and they rely a lot on their interior offensive linemen to kind of just get to the second level, right? It's a lot of zone running. Clint Kubiak's doing the whole Shanahan thing, and it's been working for the most part. Man, tough to do it without two-year offensive linemen, though. Two-year better offensive linemen. And I see that Demario Davis is out on defense, too. Tough injuries for the Saints. Kamara and Olave are questionable. They should both play. But what we saw last week for the Saints, right? They went up against the Eagles, and the Eagles just said, you know what? No, you're not going to run the ball. You're going to have to do good, honest dropbacks. You can't just spam outside zone and then do play action off of that. We're going to put like 5 and 6 down linemen on you, right? You're not going to run the ball. And we saw like the Saints score 12 points, right? So that was kind of the big question, right? If you could take away this, if you could make Derek Carr like take a good, honest 5-step drop without any play action, if you could take away that running game, are they going to be like the best offense in the league? Probably not. And we kind of saw that against Philly. Now, I will say this Falcons defensive line is not Philly's, right? I am truly scared of, like, this pass rush is still not very good, but the secondary is good. I honestly am kind of torn on who I want to pick for this one. I lean Saints. I picked Saints in the pick'em, right? Because I just like their defense so much. I like their defense a little bit better than the Falcons. I think, it's kind of funny. The Falcons have been in a lot of low-scoring games this year, and I think they're going to be in another one here today. Like, I honestly could see both these teams scoring below 20. Like, I could see this being like an 18-15 type of game. I am going to go with the Saints. I don't feel great about it because, man, that offensive line, like, I don't love it, right? And, like, if the Falcons can take away this run game, then, man, the Saints have got to, like, figure out something else on offense because, I don't know, they were able to spam that for 2 weeks against two maybe not as great defenses, and now, I don't know. And this Falcons secondary is pretty good. I'm going to go with the Saints, but I don't love it. I'm going to say Saints 18, Falcons 15. Kind of a gross one, but, I mean... I don't know. The Falcons are favored. I don't love that pick, but it's a weird game to read, honestly, with all the injuries. And, these games are just always weird. But I guess I didn't need to open another tab for that. Hold on. Let's go to Rams-Bears. We've had a lot of Bears chatter in here so far, so this one will be a fun one to talk about. But I'll check chat here in a sec. But yeah, Rams-Bears should be a fun one. I'm actually kind of excited for this one. I think we could have some slight shootout potential. I don't know. I think there's a chance both these offenses show up here. But MS is saying, what do you think about the Chiefs versus the Falcons game and the refs? Yeah, I mean, there was like a few missed calls on both ends, right? And like, missed call the Chiefs game, like it's going to be a big deal. And yeah, like, okay, it was pretty bad. But I think overall, like the Chiefs are still the better team. It was close though, right? It came down to the end. And that's just been how all these Chiefs games have been, right? And you got to give credit to the Falcons defense. Like they did a pretty good job, like reining the Chiefs offense in. And I know it's not as good as it once was, but the Falcons, they're just still kind of figuring things out a little bit. I still don't think their offense is playing to its full potential. Kirk is getting a lot closer, and we've seen flashes of it, but it's a lot of new, right? New quarterback, new play caller, new wide receivers, right? Like completely new identity under Arthur Smith, but still like the offensive line is the same and they're so used to doing just all zone. So they're in a weird transition phase right now, but I honestly think the defense has been pretty good outside of pass rush, which has been a little surprising because I was worried about this defense, but they made some nice moves. Laywell asking best divisional rivalry in the league right now. Ooh, that's a good one, right? I mean, honestly, Falcons Saints is a good call right there. I mean, Ravens Steelers is just a classic, right? I mean, that's another good, just like rough and tumble rivalry. Cowboys versus anyone, like Cowboys Eagles is fun, right? Yeah, man, there's some good ones out there, but you could give the Saints and Falcons some love. I feel like this rivalry doesn't get as much love on the national stage, but it's real deal, man. These two teams do not like each other one bit. Believe me, I'm surrounded by a lot of Falcons fans here. They hate the Saints. They hate the Saints. Mono saying the Falcons were down 5, got into field goal range twice, turned it over on downs twice, shake my head, and the refs screwed them too. Yeah, I mean, they just couldn't finish drives, right? And that's something you got to do when you've got all these good players. Like you got Pitts and London and Bijan, and you bring in Kirk. That's what you got to do. You got to finish these drives. You can't leave points on the table like that against the Chiefs. You just can't. Laywell saying, Doc, I chose the Falcons in the Pick'em League, so I fear they're destined to lose this game. Yeah, I mean, who knows, right? Mooney has been looking pretty good so far. Like, honestly, like, kind of an underrated player. And I think he, like, maybe even had a random 1,000-yard season in there. But, like, a lot of people kind of scoffed at the signing. It's like, okay, but, like, they're not going to ask him to be their number one, right? You know who else has looked pretty good is Ray McLeod. Ray McLeod has been like a guy in this Falcons offense. Kirk likes to go to him a little bit. That's Kirk, man. He will just go wherever the play is supposed to. If the play is drawn up for Ray McLeod, it's going to Ray McLeod. Kirk will just listen to orders to a fault almost. But when it works pretty well. So, all right, here we go. Fun one right here. Like I said, maybe some potential for points. I do like this Bears defense enough, but man, it's the Rams. It's Sean McVay. It's Matthew Stafford, right? I really am really impressed with the win that they had last week. I mean, there's a season-saving win, right? If you caught my Monday night stream, I said that, like, don't don't count these guys out just yet. They're 1-2. They're super injured, right? We'll see when Cup and Puka come back, right? And those are big losses. And they're also like down 2 or 3 of their starting offensive linemen. So like it is pretty rough. It is pretty rough as far as like the talent on offense right now outside of Stafford. And I mean, McVay counts for something too, right? The defense has been a little bit better than expected. The secondary has still struggled a little bit, right? We're seeing Trey White kind of get cooked. They've given up like a big game to a receiver each week. Juwan Jennings had like 140 yards and 3 touchdowns on them. Marvin Harrison went crazy on him the week before. Jamison Williams went crazy on him week 1. And, they're all like good players, but, like they just don't have enough talent in the secondary. It's tough, right? Like there's only so much you can do in one off season. So I do think this could be a good spot for the Bears passing game to get on track here a little bit, right? If you're the Bears, dude, I'm sorry. Just don't run the ball. I'm so sick of seeing DeAndre Swift go for 1 yard, man. You would not believe DeAndre Swift's stats this season so far. Let me pull them up here real quick because honestly, it's like unbelievable. Oh, there it is right there. DeAndre Swift, 37 carries for 68 yards. That's how bad it's been. Like, it's horrible. Like, honestly, like, and I like running the ball enough, right? Like, hey, run the ball a little bit. Running the ball is advantageous in today's NFL. Dude, I'm sorry. When they hand it off to DeAndre Swift, it's just a waste of a play. The line isn't very good. Shane Waldron's run designs haven't been very good. And I'm sorry, man. I say this as someone that's got some Georgia stuff in the back and went to Georgia and watched DeAndre Swift when I was a student at Georgia. He's not very good. He's just not very good. His vision is horrid. And it's just kind of telling that, like, back-to-back seasons, he's been on very run-friendly, run-heavy offenses in the Lions and the Eagles. And both of them were just kind of pretty eager to move on from him, right? The Eagles bought low on him, had him for a year. He even went for like 1,000 yards, but like, nah, we're good. We're good. The Lions love to run the ball like, we're good. We're good, right? He was the first signing of free agency. It was just funny. Like, the Bears couldn't wait to sign him, but it's bad. No, I honestly think you got to open it up and you got to let Caleb cook. And I know, like, it's been a little annoying here. Like, Chris Collinsworth on Sunday Night Week 2, like, oh, we're about to see Caleb Williams unleashed, but like, this is a game where you actually do it, right? This is a secondary that can be had. This is where your good wide receivers need to come to life a little bit, right? I like DJ Moore a lot. I'm playing him in fantasy this week because I think he can dominate his matchup. They've been going to him a lot. They just need to like get him going downfield a little bit. Let's see him on a deep route here and there, right? Like send him on a go ball, right? Let Caleb Williams kind of push the ball downfield. I know Keenan Allen is questionable, right? How about let's get Roma Dunze going a little bit, right? Let's feed him the ball a little bit, right? He's been starting to get targeted a little bit more. He had 100 yards last week and a touchdown. All right, there you go. This is the dude that like we're excited for, right? You have these receivers to take advantage of this poor secondary. I think that's a big reason why I'm leaning Bears here, right? Because I honestly think this could be like a Caleb Williams 300-yard game. And this is kind of the game where everyone's like, oh, here we go. We're starting to see the vision with this offense a little bit. But Shane Waldron's got to get his act together. The offensive line has got to get their act together. And yeah, you know what? Let's not feed DeAndre leisurely. That's awesome. I like that. I might have to start using that. Let's not kid ourselves, dude. Like, honestly, throw the ball 40 times today. Just do it. Just do it. I will say, though, the Rams just they seem to turn something into nothing every year with Sean McVay. And I'm sorry for all the people that I led astray with Tyler Johnson. Poor Laywell. Sorry about that. Yeah, that was tough. It was Tutu Atwell instead, of course, right? Sean McVay loves Tutu Atwell. He's been trying to make him a thing for like 4 years now. Tutu Atwell had a pretty good game. But that's what they like. It's just like they'll just make something work, right? I trust that the Rams will at least make this somewhat competitive, but man, this Bears defense is so good, especially with their secondary and their linebackers, right? And this Rams offense is just so banged up. If they had one of either Cup or Puka, I might feel a little bit better, but being short both of them and their offensive line situation, and it's in Chicago, I am going to lean with the Bears. I don't hate if you want to go with the Rams in an upset, right? But I don't know. I honestly think this might be the game where Caleb gets going a little bit. We might see like a good Caleb game today. But if not, then MS, hey, come dunk on me. Oh man, this is going to be a fun game to watch, or at least follow along. All right, let's get to the next one here. We got Steelers versus Colts. Oh, the Colts. Hey, they did win last week. They did win. Can't keep the team at Dr. Pigskin down forever, huh? Just can't keep these guys down, can you? But you can't keep the Steelers down either. Oh, man, the Steelers, they might be on their way to a very good start this year. Parachamp saying he feels like we're 1 or 2 games away from Stafford getting hurt. Very fair point. He's getting beat up back there, right? And he's a little bit older, so maybe he can't stomach these hits as well. That's a very fair point. That's a little scary. Every time he drops back, it's like, oh, there's a guy in his lap again. And he somehow makes the throw, but it's like, man, you don't want him getting killed out there. Yeah, this Rams offensive line has been pretty bad, but you can't blame them that much because they're just so injured right now. They're so injured. But MS says, you can't believe the Bears would match Monty's $18 million offer from Detroit and then turn around and sign Swift for $24 million. Yeah, a little bit of poor business right there. Laywell saying he should also mention he had Amari Cooper on his bench, so admittedly that was an L on me. Hey, it happens to the best of us, right? I left Jake Ferguson on my bench, so tough. We got Henry in here. Let's go, Henry. Good morning to you as well. Saying congrats on the 5K. Appreciate it, man. But thank you for joining me here. We were actually just talking about Falcons Saints not that long ago. I picked Saints over the Falcons 18-15 in a gross, ugly one, but I admittedly don't feel great about it. Like I honestly think that game could go either way. I know, real hard-hitting analysis right there, right? But there's injuries on both sides. Those games are always weird, but I'm going to lean the Saints. I just like their defense a little bit more, but I'm a little worried about the Saints offensive line injuries. But yeah, gross 18-15 win for the Saints. But hey, I kind of hope I'm wrong. But here we go. Thank you, Parachamp, as well. Thank you. Let's hit it. This is our Colts. This is our team. We bleed blue. Let's go. The Colts are back. They won a game. And you know what, man? We'll see about today because the Steelers is a really, really tough matchup, right? But here's what I'll say. For the team of Dr. Pigskin 2024, right? It's been 2 things that have really been plaguing them so far. And it's honestly so frustrating as someone that believes in this team and wants to see them succeed and is really excited about them. Let's have the Colts conversation, right? Like, I feel like we're at the end of the month now. We're starting to get a good vibe on these teams, right? I'm glad you brought up Richardson. Let's talk about Richardson first. Call me crazy. And this is a legit concern, what I'm about to say, right? I am not out on Anthony Richardson whatsoever just yet, right? I mean, it's still very early in his career in the grand scheme of things. And, you know, you made the sandwich, right? The Colts knew what they were signing up for by drafting a dude that like barely played in college and is now barely played in the NFL and he's young. He's a very exciting but frustrating watch for me because when you watch Anthony Richardson, I honestly think he's like 75% of the way there to being a really good quarterback. I really think he's a lot closer than a lot of people think. And it's not just the athletic tools, right? Like that's obvious. We all know about that. Like we all know like how ridiculously talented he is as far as like his speed, his size, his arm strength, right? What I think really frustrates me the most is that I honestly think like between the years, he's a very smart quarterback. I really do. And that might sound weird considering he's been so turnover prone. I don't think it's because he's making bad decisions though. You watch like Anthony Richardson's, like you watch like him drop back for every, like you watch like every play of Anthony Richardson, right? You're like, honestly, dude, he does a pretty good job of reading out the defense, going through his reads and finding the open guy, right? Honestly, he manages the pocket pretty well. He does a good job avoiding pressure. He did take a bad sack last week against the Bears, and that clip went like semi-viral on Twitter. But honestly, that's pretty rare for him. He manages the pocket well. He avoids pressure well. He reads the defense well. He finds the open guy well. The only thing that's holding him back, and again, admittedly, this is why 75%, maybe you could even say like 66%, like it could be like between a quarter and a third. This is a big piece of the pie to being a good quarterback. Honestly think the biggest thing in his way is accuracy. His mechanics are horrible. He's not accurate. He's got a big arm, but he can't control it. And so it's so frustrating to watch him drop back, right? And this Colts offense is well coached. It's got talent. It's well run. And he'll like, oh, not here. Oh, immediately sees A.D. Mitchell open. Just misses him, right? Oh, I see Michael Pittman open right away. Just misses him. Oh, Kylan Granson is open. He slips and he misses him, right? Like, everything just feels so close. And if he was just even a little bit more accurate, the Colts are probably at least 2-1 right now, right? Like they've been in these games, right? They could have easily beaten the Texans, right? Like they were right there in that game, right? Even the Packers, like that game came down to the end, but just, And again, if he can't figure out the accuracy, if he can't like set his feet a little bit better, if he can't control his arm, then it's over, right? Like you need to be accurate. Like you can't be missing these throws, right? It's bad. Like, and maybe admittedly, I overestimated how much he'd be able to clean that up in one offseason, especially when he was injured for a lot of it, right? But he checks almost every box. He's just not accurate. And so that's what's so frustrating is that this team just feels like they're so close to being good. I'm not out on the Colts or I'm not out on Richardson yet, right? The run game is going now. Jonathan Taylor, back-to-back 100-yard games, right? A.D. Mitchell looks great. We know Pittman is pretty good. Josh Downs is back. The offensive line is good. Shane Steichen, like he hasn't fallen off whatsoever. Like these plays are working. They're just like missing on like 60% of them. Like they're just not hitting them. And it's so frustrating. But so that's the one big issue, right? And then the run defense is completely unserious. And I did not see this coming. Maybe I was a little too high on the Colts linebackers. And now obviously Buckner is out for a while, right? The run defense is just terrible. I mean, okay, they had a good game against the Bears last week. But I mean, we just talked about how rough the Bears running game is. Cool. You held Swift to like 30 yards, whatever. Anyone can do that, I guess. The secondary is like been better than like we thought though. Like Jalen Jones is like playing well right now. And, you know, they lose Juju Brents, which is like, man, that's so tough, right? Like, right? But the defense has been like outside of the run defense. It's been better than expected. The pass rush has looked great, right? There are all the ingredients there, but it's just not quite complete. Henry's saying it's what's concerning is he can't fix mechanics mid-season, so there's problems are just going to persist. Probably, right? I mean, to play devil's advocate, we were having these same conversations about Jordan Love last year, right? Like, oh man, Love just looks lost out there. Jordan Love, I mean, you kind of can at least fix some issues mid-season. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to be realistic with Richardson, right, year 3, right, that's when you're probably going to know for sure, like, okay, has he figured it out or not yet, right? Like, and it is tough. Like, you can't just, like, in the middle of practice, like, oh, instead of preparing for the Steelers today, we're going to teach you how to set your feet. Like, you can't do that, you know? But he just makes it harder on himself sometimes. Like, he'll get in a decent rhythm, like, oh, I've hit 3 throws in a row. Like, all right, well, now I'm just going to try and, like, sidearm this because I can. It's like, well, maybe not yet, dude. Maybe you need to graduate to that a little bit. But that being said, right, I feel like I've said so much nice stuff about the Colts. Meanwhile, the Steelers are 3-0. Their defense is disgusting. Their run game is nice. I mean, I am picking the Steelers in this game, right? You want to talk about a bad matchup, like Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, and especially Arthur Smith, have got to be licking their chops right now looking at this Colts run defense. If you're the Steelers, just pound it, dude. Just pound it. Like, no disrespect to Fields, who I think has been all right so far. But if you're the Steelers, tell Fields, dude, we don't want you throwing more than 10 times today. Like, seriously, just feed. I guess Jalen Warren is out. Feed Najee then. Feed Najee. Like, honestly, just run it till they stop you. If it's 3rd and 4 or shorter, run it. I could care less, right? Just run the ball and then let your defense tee off, right? Maybe TJ Watt goes for like 2 sacks or something. This is not a game for Anthony Richardson to get right. This is not the defense for Richardson to get right against. So I do feel pretty good about the Steelers winning this one. If the Colts drop to 0-3, then maybe the dream of winning the division is dead a little bit, which is tough. But yeah, they've just left a little bit too much on the table. They haven't hit their best outcome, you know? So it's tough, but I'm not willing to wave the white flag on Richardson or the Colts in the long term yet. But yeah, this year might be a little bit more of a growing pains type of year than maybe me had anticipated. I was about to say some of us. I was like, it's mostly me. It's mostly me. I've done this to myself. I made the sandwich, right? Now I got to eat it. All right. Oh, here's another grudge match. Broncos-Jets. This is a sneaky grudge match, you know, because of the coaching storylines, right? It's not just all divisional rivalries. There's coaching grudge matches, and there's another one we'll get to in a little bit here too. But like I said, good week for the plot. This is a good week for the plot. Maybe not like some of the most amazing games ever, but there's some good games in here, right? But the plot, oh, the storylines. We got some good ones. What an insane analogy. Oh, Pear Champ. Always doubt the Steelers, but they keep coming back like the abusive alcoholic father to beat their way to a positive record and doing just enough for child services to not take the kids away. You good, bro? Oh my goodness. That is crazy. Mono saying they used to call him AR-15, but he has the speed of a sawed-off shotgun. Richardson has the talent to be great. I think he really would have benefited a ton if he had sat behind a solid vet to start his career like Gardner Minshew. Yeah, fair enough, right? And he did sit, but it's not just that he sat like he was injured, so maybe he couldn't get as much of the physical work as he'd wanted to, right? And that's what's really tough. So MS likes Pickens to eat today. They're going to have to stack the box to stop the run, leaving Pickens and Man. And he's top 5 in the league this year versus Man at creating separation. How about MS with the stat right there? That's awesome. Let's go. I didn't know that, but that totally makes sense, right? He's not a dude you want to run Man against. He's so physical. He's so fast, right? He's a good player. He's maybe like a one-trick pony, but it's a heck of a trick to have, just being physical against man coverage and making sick catches. You know? It's a nice trick. So there's nothing wrong with being a one-trick pony if you're really good at it, and it's a good skill. So Henry saying, curious if Fields has done enough already to earn a big contract, even if Russell takes over once he's healthy. I mean, I think if you're the Steelers, just keep rolling with Fields, right? He's playing like, it's been a nice little rebrand for Fields, and maybe it's not like, wow, like Justin Fields, this is Ohio State, you know, right? But got to give Fields credit. And I do not mean this as like a backhanded compliment whatsoever. Like, I'm giving him props here. Like, he has been a fantastic game manager. And you know what? If you're Pittsburgh, that's what you need to do right now, right? I mean, if you think about it, like, how many points have they given up all season, right? Like, they must like lead the league in points allowed. They lead the league in like fewest yards allowed, right? The Steelers have given up 26 points all season, you know? So if you're Fields, right, just don't turn the ball over. When it gets a little hairy, when it's like 3rd and 4, you can pick it up with your legs and just don't do anything stupid. And he hasn't. Like, he's been, you know, I don't want to say like, oh, he's been limited, right? Like, let's be honest. They're not like doing anything crazy right now, right? He's not like beating teams downfield or anything like that, but he's been a smart quarterback so far. He's been a good caretaker. That's all you really need. So I feel like you got to roll with him, right? Even if Russ is healthy. I know like Mike Tomlin wanted to play Russ so bad, but like, nah, dude, do not change things up right now. You're 3-0. You might be on your way to like 5-0 looking at their schedule, or 4-0 maybe at least, but I would not necessarily get down with this. See, like, look at that. Bears should have kept Fields all along. He's better than Caleb. It's like, okay, let's slow our roll here. The Steelers could score 11 points every week and be undefeated. Like, let's calm down a little bit. But he's done his job, so respect to Fields for that. Laywell's heading out, say he has to bounce. Hey, no worry about that. Get to go catch up with one of his sisters and play in Manhattan, Kansas. That's awesome. Well, appreciate you stopping by, Laywell. And you know what? Go enjoy the play. Go enjoy the games. You have yourself a good one. Let's go. MS saying Fields also leads the league in fourth quarter passer rating this year. He's been doing pretty good, all things considered. He has. And you know what? Like, he had that touchdown to Calvin Austin last week against the Chargers. It was a throw over the middle of the field, and that's something like he has not done his entire NFL career. And it wasn't like, oh, this is one of the best throws ever. It was like, hey, he like timed it up. He ripped it over the middle. They got some nice yak and scored a touchdown. It's like, you know what? All right. Like, we haven't seen him do that before. So respect, right? You can't take him out. I don't know if he's going to get a big contract to answer your question, Henry. I feel like I talked for like 4 minutes without answering the question. I don't know if he's going to get like paid. He might get like what's a good comparison? Not like a Geno deal, probably a little bit less than that. Maybe a little bit more than like Minshew's deal, maybe, depending on how this Steelers season goes. But yeah, no, I mean, I honestly think if you're Fields, you want to stick in Pittsburgh, right? Like, it's been working. So, all right, let's talk about Broncos Jets. You know, the Broncos got off the schneid. They got their first win, right? Bo Nix looked a lot better. And the big thing was they were just able to protect him, right? This Tampa defense was not really able to get after Bo Nix at all. There was no big mistakes. Bo Nix was able to move around with his legs some, and he was just able to take a lot of the easy stuff underneath, right? That's kind of what you envisioned, like best case scenario for this Broncos offense is keep Nix clean. Sean Payton will get a few guys open, and Bo Nix will just like pepper those like short routes, right? And just like make it work. And I've been a little mean to Bo Nix, but you know what? All things considered, he played pretty well last week. I got to give it to him, right? The Broncos offense, hey, there you go. You got some points on the board. And the defense has been kind of nice. Their pass rush has been kind of nice. Not a bad matchup against this Jets offensive line, which has been retooled a little bit, but maybe some wins to have there, right? No Morgan Moses for the Jets here today, so probably going to see the rookie Olufashanu step in. All right, let's see it. You're going up against the sneaky good pass rush here, right? Zach Allen, been kind of a good player for him. How about John Franklin Myers? A John Franklin Myers revenge game, right? Shouted him out preseason. Solid piece right there, right? Broncos have some guys, right? Not a bad defense. And then you've got Surtain on Garrett Wilson. Here you go. I hope that these two see a lot of each other here today. This is good on good right here. Here you go, right? Let's see it. Let's see it. But if you're the Jets, you got to be hyped up, right? I'm sure Jets fans have been just itching to see their team back out on the field after what we saw on Thursday night back in week 3. Because I got to tell you what, man. I got to tell you what. It was a bit of a slow start. Maybe it was just the Patriots, although I respect the Patriots defense a good amount. Aaron Rodgers looked pretty good, man. He looked pretty good out there, I got to say. And if you're a Jets fan, you got to get kind of excited about that because, I don't know, dude, it's just one game. But his game against the Patriots on Thursday night, that's one of the best games I think we've seen from a quarterback all season so far. And it's the creation that's back for him, right? We didn't know if that was going to be back after the Achilles injury, after the surgery, right? Maybe Rodgers is going to have to be the old vet, like just commanding the line of scrimmage and like making plays from the pocket. But dude, last game for the Jets, he's rolling out. He's hitting throws on the run. It looked a little bit like the Aaron Rodgers of old. It's like, oh, here we go. Here we go. So can he do it again, right? A decent test versus this Broncos defense, though. I got to give them some love. They've been playing pretty well. They got a lot of flack last year. They were the team that gave up 70 to the Dolphins, but they've started to turn it around a little bit. They're not a bad unit on defense. They're maybe not great. Not a lot of big names on there outside of Surtain, but all right, they've got some guys, right? They've got some guys. Henry is saying he thinks the Jets offense could struggle with Wilson getting shut down by Surtain. They don't have a real number 2 pass catcher. Yeah, Lazard has been the number 2. I would obviously like if it was Mike Williams instead, because why else did you pay the guy? But, I mean, you got to go to who's working, right? Lazard has been all right, though. He's been better than I thought he would be because he was so bad last year, but been a little bit better. So it might be the Lazard show. I do think that the Jets can also turn to Breece Hall a little bit. I think an 8-point spread is crazy. That's what I'll say, though. I think 8 is a lot. I think it's going to be a little bit of a closer game than that, but I am going to go with the Jets. I just think, I don't know, Rodgers looks pretty good, man. And as good as this Broncos defense is, the Jets is better. It's in New York. I don't know. It might be a little bit back to earth for this Broncos offense going up against this Jets defense this week. I'll go Jets 24, Broncos 14. Got Caden in here saying game day, baby. Dude, big one, right? We were talking about this on Xbox last night. Big one. I'm picking the Packers, but we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just a little scared is all. Lambeau's a little scary, but I will go with the Jets in this one. Let's see if Rodgers can do it again, though, and let's see if he can do it without Garrett Wilson. I will say, Christian Gonzalez had a pretty good game against Garrett Wilson, all things considered, last week, too. He didn't, completely take him away like you might think Surtain might be able to today, but they were able to make it work even without him a little bit. They haven't gotten Wilson rolling as much as you might want to if you're the Jets yet, right? Charvarius Ward had a good game against him in week 1, too, right? We haven't seen the Garrett Wilson explosion yet. We might not see it this week either, but there's just so much talent there. It's so obvious how good he is. We need to see it unleashed, let's see it, but maybe not this week. Maybe it'll be another Lazard game. Alan Lazard, man. Alan Lazard. Anyways, let's talk about some Eagles-Bucks. I feel like this is a game we see a lot now. That is a game we see a lot now. Parachamp saying he feels like the Vikings and Packers usually trade each other's home game. Oh, yeah, right. Again, divisional games, right? These are always dog fights. Anything can happen. Usually good for a split, or at least competitive, no matter how good one team might be or how bad another team might be. I always think back to like 2013, the Leslie Frazier era with the Vikings, right? Went into Lambeau and tied with the Packers. There's been some hilarious Vikings-Packers games. But MS saying Rodgers looked like vintage Aaron Rodgers last week. He did, right? And again, like if you can get this fairly consistently if you're the Jets, this is why, like, I don't want to like put too much expectations on them, right? This is why they were like the 7th or 8th biggest favorite to win the Super Bowl, according to Vegas going into the year, right? Like they have that ceiling. They totally do. If Rodgers is dialed in and the defense is good and they've got Breece Hall, like this is a very good team, man. It is a good team. So, but we haven't seen that consistency yet. And it's fair to wonder like if we're going to see that from Rodgers every week. But here you go. Here's a chance to do it again. All right. Eagles Bucks in Tampa Bay. Little playoff rematch. Also saw this game on Monday night last year. We saw this game in the playoffs a few years ago, and the Eagles are very, very, very banged up on offense going into this one. Holy crap, I just saw that Lane Johnson got ruled out too. No A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, or Lane Johnson. That's probably like 3 of your 5 best players right there that are out. At least 3 of your 5 best players on offense. Oh, no Lane Johnson either. You know, and we saw this offense without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith for most of their game against the Saints last week, right? Brown was out and then Smith got knocked out. No Lane Johnson is big though, dude. Like he really is like still one of the best tackles in the league. And it's still a very good looking offensive line. But again, like 1 through 5, it's a little not as strong now. No Kelsey there, obviously. Now no Lane Johnson. You know. Philly's 1-point favorites on the road. Oh, I will say the defense is much, much improved from last time we saw these two teams play, right? So maybe not, might not see Trey Palmer score like a 50-yard touchdown today. The Bucs kind of came back down to earth a little bit last week against the Broncos, right? That Broncos defense, reason why they're getting gassed up. They had a great game against the Tampa offense that was rolling coming into the game, right? Still haven't quite been able to get the running game going, specifically with Rachaad White. Hey, all aboard the Bucky Irving train, right? I've got Bucky Irving in a lot of my fantasy leagues, and he looks pretty good. He's good for a good run here or there, right? But the offensive line is banged up. No Luke Gedeke again, which means more Justin Schooley, which if that name sounds semi-familiar, he's the backup right tackle for the Bucs, and he was the guy that gave up like 4.5 of the 5 Aiden Hutchinson sacks when Hutch had 5 sacks against the Bucs. That's who Hutch was doing it against. So, not a good problem to have going up against this Eagles defense that is started to look a little bit better, and you've got all this talent up front, and then Jalen Carter kind of showed up in a big way last week, had maybe one of his best games as a pro so far against the Saints. And, you know, I love me some Cody Mock, but he's getting beat a little bit right now. It's been a tough start for him this season. He's getting beat up a little bit. So this is what the Bucs were trying to do, right? Put a lot into their offensive line, improve it. It's been a problem before. Try and make their run game a little bit more serious. Hasn't quite happened yet. Baker was able to hook up with Evans, Godwin, and McMillan for a lot of big plays through the air. But now, you know, it might be a little bit tougher, and McMillan is doubtful, and weren't quite able to get Mike Evans going last week. And we saw, like, when Mike Evans wasn't cooking, like, the offense wasn't nearly as strong, right? So that's a bit of a concern. And the Bucs are still pretty banged up front too, right? No Kancey, Vita Vea is questionable. Antoine Winfield Jr. is still out. Again, another game where for the Eagles, just pound it, right? Saquon has been so good. He looks like the best back in the league right now. Even without Lane Johnson, like, you still got to run the ball, right? Saquon is just so good, and the Bucs are injured up front. Yeah, you got to pound the rock. This should be a Saquon Barkley 20 carry game. Absolutely. I am going to go with the Eagles. I still just think they're a little bit better team. I know they're without their receivers, and Pearchamp is asking a good question. Who are they throwing to? Their own fans with jerseys? Yeah, it might be another Always Sunny situation, just having fans try out for the team. I'm looking at their depth chart right now. I know I don't see Jahan Dotson as wide receiver 1, and then Johnny Wilson, Paris Campbell, and John Ross. Uh-oh. Yeah, if you're Jalen, you don't want to be dropping back more than 20 times today. You really don't. It might be another Dallas Goedert feast game, right? Dallas Goedert had like the game of his life last week because he's like by far their best pass catcher now. But really, you just want to give Saquon the ball, right? That's the biggest thing you can turn to right now. This is why you brought in Saquon. You actually paid a running back, which goes against the grain a little bit. And the Eagles are one of the more analytically minded front offices, but they're like, you know what, we're going to pay a premium for a good back. Here you go. Just feed Saquon the rock, right? I think the Eagles will win this one. Even though they're super shorthanded, Saquon will take them home. We'll go Eagles 26, Bucks 20. How about that? Eagles 26, Bucks 20. But it's a little bit more interesting now with all these injuries. The Bucks have more of a chance now, I feel like. Still in the 1 o'clock window. We've got two more. Here's Bengals, Panthers. Here's another grudge match. Right here, right? These two teams are not divisional rivals. Heck, they're not even in the same conference. But you know what this is? It's the Andy Dalton revenge game. Andy Dalton is back for blood. Here we go. The red rifle ready to open fire. Let's go. But before we dive into this, let's check chat. Kind of fired up for this one. I'm not going to lie. I'm like weirdly excited for this game. Not even just because of the Andy Dalton revenge game storyline or whatever. But honestly, I don't know, man. This could be a fun one. All right. Let's check chat though first. MS asking, full PPR, would I start Deontay Johnson versus the Bengals, DJ Moore versus the Rams, or Aaron Jones versus the Packers? I'm going to say DJ Moore. I'm going to go with DJ Moore there. Aaron Jones versus his Packers run defense. I like the matchup, but I don't know. Like, could this be more of a Sam, you have to throw the ball a little bit type of game? Maybe. I do love this Vikings run game though. I'm just so excited that we actually have a serious running game, but I would probably go DJ Moore. I'm big on DJ Moore this week. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is here in a little bit with DJ Moore, but I don't hate Deontay versus the Bengals either, which let's just get into it, right? Pear Champ saying Saquon is going to run until his legs fall off. Hey, as he should, right? Like, I mean, obviously hope that he's like, okay, but like, feed him the rock, dude. I just want to see him carry the ball. But I will say I like Deontay versus the Bengals a good amount. And the reason why I think this game could be very interesting is because I think that both of these defenses are absolutely horrible. You know, I've been really mean to the Commanders defense. I was like, dude, I'm sorry. They're so bad. They're so awful. I'm picking them against them, blah, blah, you know, right? Like, dang, I've really been mean to the Commanders so far, right? Let's just say Monday night, the Bengals and Commanders played. The Commanders did not have the worst defense on the field. My goodness, this Bengals defense is bad. Oh my goodness. And this is what happens when you start to take some of these hits, right? Jesse Bates leaves and DJ Reader leaves and Chidobe Awuzie leaves, right? You can't pay everyone. You don't want to pay everyone. You get some injuries and all of a sudden you are left, and it is bad. You're right. The Commanders defense is bad. Like, it's easily bottom 3, right? I'm just trying to like atone for my sins a little bit. Like, I've been so hard on the Commanders. They're 2-1. I'm going to give them some love, but no, it is bad. I mean, it still might be the worst defense in the league, but I don't know. But, the Bengals are now left with a defense that does not have a good secondary. It does not have a good pass rush outside of Trey Hendrickson, and they can't stop the run. Both of their interior defensive linemen look like they're going to be out. No Sheldon Rankins, no BJ Hill. So it's going to be Zach Carter and Jay Tuffley up the middle for them. Trey Hendrickson is a great player. Sam Hubbard might have turned into one of the worst edge players in the NFL, though. The Bengals, I saw this stat, or I heard it on a podcast. I'm trying to remember the exact number. But let's just put something into perspective. Right now, the Falcons have the worst pass rush win rate in the NFL for the season at like 21%, I think, just to put that in reference, right? 21% win rate, pass rush, pretty bad. Last week, the Bengals pass rush win rate was 9%. It was 9%. And Lou Anarumo is a defensive coordinator that does not like the blitz. So you can't get pressure rushing for, but you don't want to blitz. Well, where does that leave you? Like, Jaden had like 6 seconds in the pocket every play. And then they called one blitz and their corners got beat because they just can't hold up, right? I've hyped up Cam Taylor-Britt a decent amount. He had a pretty rough game, and I like how he's like bringing some attitude and running his mouth, but he kind of got beat a little bit by Terry McLaurin and Dax Hill, who they drafted to originally be a safety and like be the Jesse Bates replacement, just hasn't turned into a good player. He's getting beat a lot, right? I mean, man, like the secondary is just getting beat over the top, whether they get pressure or not, and they're not getting pressure, and they lose DJ Reader, and their run defense is bad, and you can pound the rock on them, right? So I honestly think you look at this Panthers team, who their offensive line is like actually kind of playing pretty well right now. They put a lot of money into that. No Damian Lewis today, but still, like, honestly, playing not like bad at all, right? You get Andy Dalton in there, which, you know what? I got to say, maybe Bryce was the problem, right? Because the offense just looked miles better with Andy Dalton in there. All right, maybe Bryce really is not good. All right, whatever. Dalton looked good. He had some great throws, and, like, you know, he's hitting Deontay a little bit, and no Thielen, but they're making that work. I just think, dude, like the Panthers could score some points again in this game. And the Panthers defense, I mean, let's be fair, right? The Panthers defense is horrible too. Like these are probably 2 of the 4 or 5 worst defenses in the league. So I'm excited for this one. I think we might have a Bengals-Panthers shootout. I really do. I'm still high on this Bengals offense, right? They showed last week, like, all right, here we go. The gang is back together now. They can still throw the ball around the yard, and Zach Moss is actually looking pretty darn good right now, right? Hey, we're finally sending Jamar Chase on some deeper routes. That was something I was kind of lamenting going into that game, and then they hit him for 2 long touchdowns, right? Yoshi looks great. T. Higgins, they're starting to get back in action a little bit, right? Zach Moss is running the ball well. Burrow looks good. Like, Burrow still is playing pretty well. I think it was crazy that people are like, wow, I can't believe Burrow lost. It's like, dude, I'm sorry. Burrow, what else did you want him to do, dude? Like, he had like 350 yards. Like, he had a good game, you know? I don't know, man. There's a world where like both these teams score in the 30s today, honestly. I really think so. I am going to go with the Bengals. Who's going to stop Jamar Chase on this Panthers defense? I'm sorry, right? Who's going to stop Zach Moss, honestly? Like, this Panthers run defense is pretty atrocious. I was flirting with starting Zach Moss on one of my fantasy teams today because, honestly, like, you look at, like, there's no Shy Tuttle either. I mean, goodness gracious. They're already without Derek Brown. Oh, boy. I am going to go with the Bengals. I'm going to say Bengals 35, Panthers 30, though. I don't know. I think we might actually be in for a fun one here between these two. But I'm going to go with the Bengals. I just think they're a little bit better. But yeah, I don't know. I think there might be some interesting bets you could make in this game if you're into that kind of stuff. I don't know. Take the over, maybe. What's the over-under at? 44.5? Oh, come on. We're getting more than that. I don't know. These two defenses I just don't trust whatsoever. But I'll go with the Bengals. They absolutely need this one if you're Cincy, right? Like, yeah, there's been the September Bengals, and, like, you know, they've had slow starts before, but man, 0-3 now, losing the game where you just did, where, you know what, the offense actually did wake up, but you still lost. Like, they need to win like their next few here. I know like they started 1-3 last year and they turned things around before Burrow got hurt, but this defense is seriously so bad. It might be enough to just like keep them out of the playoffs or the division race entirely. Like it's tough because like the Ravens are off to a slow start. The Browns are off to a slow start. The Steelers are good, but like, yeah, I had the Bengals as my my preseason AFC North pick. No, the defense is too bad. There's no possible way I think they can do that. Their defense is just not good enough to actually accomplish something like that. But Parachamp saying he could see Zach Taylor getting the axe if they don't make the playoffs this year. Kind of a tough year for him, right? I mean, and there's only like, it's so weird because it's so easy to like blame him, and believe me, I want to. I don't think he's like that special of a coach. Might be a little harsh, but like I don't think he's like amazing, right? But like, it's really been the defense that has done them in, and he's the offensive coach. So, like, I don't know. But you don't want to fire Lou Anarumo, I don't think, either, because he's been such a good DC for such a long time. So it'd be tough to move on from that. I think they just need to, like, it's a skill issue. Like, they just weren't, like, they just didn't do a good enough drafting replacements for the guys they let go. They didn't want to pay Jesse Bates. Well, okay, you better hit on your replacement then. They didn't. Oh, Miles Murphy is supposed to come in and be a good edge player. Just hasn't happened. Oh, Dax Hill, or not Dax Hill, Like Chris Jenkins, granted it's like 3 games into him, but like Chris Jenkins is going to be your DJ Reader replacement. Okay, well, he's not DJ Reader. So what are you going to do, right? Like, what are you going to do? All right. Yeah, price was the problem. You're right, Double A. Welcome to the stream, by the way, Double A, saying drugs are bad. So true, right? MS80 bets the Steelers win the North. At this point, yeah, I'm still not counting out the Ravens yet, but they're off to a great start, aren't they? If they could even take one off the Ravens, they might actually be able to pull it off. And their schedule's so nice to start out the year. Caden is saying Dallas Goedert standout game. Probably, right? I mean, that's what we saw last week. He went for like 170 yards, which I don't think he's ever done before. Always been a good player, but never been like a super high volume guy. So probably, probably. If you have Dallas Goedert, you might want to start him this week, but also just could be a Saquon game too. MS saying that in 3 games, the Commanders have had 21 drives in total. They cannot get off the field. Normally, team gets like 9 or 10 possessions a game. Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of long, methodical drives, right? They haven't been quite able to finish off some of these drives, but for the most part, they've been pretty good on offense. The Bengals have been one of the most disappointing teams this year, to your credit, Pear Champ, and Mono saying they're a poorly run franchise. I mean, their owner is Mr. Krabs, right? There's only so much you can do. Like, they're just not going to pay their players. They're like in these contract disputes. Like, it's one thing like, okay, you can't pay everyone, so you let some guys go. But now they're like, we're not paying Jamar Chase either. We're not paying T. Higgins. It's like, all right, dude, congrats. You've built a small fortune. And I get like, it's hilarious because like, any NFL owner is obscenely rich, right? More money than any of us could ever comprehend. But also, like, they're like the poorest ownership group, but still, like, I don't know, man. Like, they're just like, we're not going to pay these guys. That's just how we do it. It's like, all right, bro. Well, this is what happens when you don't pay anyone, right? Except for Burrow. Burrow's like the only guy that they've paid. All right, well, there you go. You made the sandwich. I love saying that. You made the sandwich. Here we go. Last 1 o'clock game. Uh-oh. Okay. The Jaguars are on my screen. Oh, don't do it, doctor. No, I'm not picking the Jaguars. Here's what I'll say. I can't quit this stupid team. Oh, my gosh. So here's what I'll say. I think it can be easy to just think that the Texans at home going up against an 0-3 Jaguars team that is reeling and got killed last week are just going to slaughter the Jaguars. Fair enough, right? Jaguars look pretty bad right now. They do. If there's any weird upset that's going to happen this week, it's this one. And I honestly think, again, I'm picking the Texans. I picked the Texans, right? And I'm not trying to be too hard on this team, but this was kind of a take I had going into the year, and I'm still at least sticking with it on the Texans end. The Jaguars, turns out, no, the Jaguars haven't been able to turn things around quite yet, right? I still think there's talent on this team. They're poorly coached. Trevor has done it to himself too, right? Like, Trevor has not been as good as he should be. Absolutely. Like, there's no escaping that either. Like, a lot of it is on him. I still think, like, Doug Peterson, get him out of there, dude. Press Taylor, get him out of there, right? Keep Ryan Nielsen, though. He's cool, right? But they even got, like, their defense even got dunked on last week, which has been pretty good otherwise. All I'm going to say is that I think it can be easy to look at the Texans and see that they're 2-1 right now, and they had really good expectations going into the year, and like, okay, yeah. I still, like, my take about the Texans going into the year was that, okay, this is a good team, playoff team. I just don't think it's going to be drastically different from last year. They'll probably win around 10 games and maybe winning the wild card, get bounced in the divisional round. I just don't think they're quite at that next level yet. I'm standing by that take, man. I've watched a lot of Texans football so far this year, right? Obviously, I watched all their game versus the Vikings last week. Watched all their game versus the Bears, right? That was in prime time. I watched a lot of their game against the Colts because that was like the game I had up on my laptop. I have seen a lot of Houston Texans football this year. And you know what? I stand by that take. This is a very good team, but they are not perfect, right? Their run game got going week 1. We're like, hey, wow, Joe Mixon. Wow, did not see that coming, right? Because they were one of the worst rushing offenses in the league last year. And they brought in Joe Mixon. I was like, that doesn't really move me, but whatever, right? But then Mixon goes for like 160 yards week 1. It's like, holy crap, here we go. Yeah, it turns out that might have just been a Colts. It just might have been a Colts run defense thing because the run game has not been good these past 2 weeks for the Texans. Yeah, you can say Mixon was out last week, but he also played against the Bears the week before, right? I don't remember if he finished that game or not, but he played against the Bears, went 9 carries, 25 yards, right? The run game wasn't that great against the Bears, and it wasn't that great against the Vikings. I'm sorry, dude. This offensive line is kind of getting pushed around a little bit. CJ Stroud is one of the most sacked quarterbacks in football right now. And every game that I've watched, he's been on his back a lot, right? No Tank Dell here for the Texans today. Obviously, Diggs and Collins are phenomenal. And Stroud is phenomenal. This is not me taking anything away from Stroud either. One of the best quarterbacks in the league. He is phenomenal. And I'm going to sound like a crazy hater, right? Like, don't worry, we'll have the Trevor Lawrence conversation. He is not absolved from this Jaguars disaster by any means. He is responsible for a lot of this too. Like, he's just not been good enough, right? We'll have that conversation in a sec. I'm not gonna shield him, but as a banger of a quote by Pearchamp. But here's what I'll say. Again, this might sound like crazy hating. I'm not a hater. I love CJ Stroud. He's a great player. I'm sorry. He has the craziest interception luck of all time. And we kind of saw that come home to roost a little bit last week. But even then, like, he had a pick that was caught but out of bounds. And, like, he's had a few interceptions called back by penalties. Just some draw. Like, I don't know. Like, and then, like, it evens out because, like, a batted ball gets intercepted, right? And this defense, again, like, you can kind of pick on the linebackers a little bit. You can kind of run on them a little bit. They're still giving up explosive plays through the air. That was a big problem for them last year. Gave up, I believe, the 7th most explosive play. We're still seeing wide receivers kind of have good games. And, like, the Colts hitting deep shots. The Vikings hit a few big plays, right? Like, what I'll say, the Texans are the better team. I'm picking them to win. I don't know, dude. Would it be shocking if they tripped up and this Jaguars pass rush and defensive front, which has a lot of talent, has been a little inconsistent, but there's been more good than bad, came to play today, hit Stroud a lot, and, like, I don't know, finally the Jaguars offense gets like one good game for once and they steal this one. They went into Houston last year and won too. Again, I'm picking the Texans, but I just think that, like, I don't know. I'm not quite there with Houston yet. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not quite there with Houston yet, but the Jaguars are a disaster. Pearchamp says the Jags are not even in the bad place. They are in Tartarus. I might have pronounced that wrong, but I know what you're talking about, right? The pit in the underworld in Greek mythology. Let's go. I read Percy Jackson, right? Trevor Lawrence is a fallen angel who has sinned and must be imprisoned for his actions. No, I mean, he's doing it to himself, right? He's doing it to himself, right? He's been inaccurate. He's been bad in the pocket, which is stuff that's supposed to be his calling card. Like, oh, years past, oh, Trevor Lawrence is so good in the pocket. I've loved the way he maneuvers the pocket. I loved the way he can create open windows to throw and make some tough throws, right? That's one of the things I love about Trevor the most. Oh, he's so good in the pocket. Dude, I'm sorry. He's been terrible in the pocket. He's taking sacks he shouldn't be. He just looks lost out there. Right? Some of that you can be like, well, he just doesn't have faith in the offense. I get that, but dude, like, I'm sorry. Like, he's got to play better. He has not been playing well this year. Like, straight up. He had a good game against the Dolphins, and that's it. He's had back-to-back bad games now. There's just been too many bad games to be like, oh, this is a dude at quarterback right here, right? And you can only milk the OC did it again for so long, right? Like, so I'm like putting a little bit of pressure on you, Trevor. Like, I've been your strongest soldier. Like, dude, I'm sorry. You got to play better. You've just straight up got to play better. This is not Doug Peterson. This is not Press Taylor. This is not Christian Kirk dropping the ball. Let's see a good game out of you today. Let's see a good game out of you. Even if it's like like they lost, but like they scored 24 points. That's what you need to see. MS asks if I'm ready to call him a bust. No, I'm not. I'm not quite there yet. But I'm there with like, okay, next time I make a top 10 quarterbacks list, he's not in the top 10, right? I've put him in there for like a year and a half now. Nah, he's been booted out of the top 10. Like, for sure. And that's coming from me, Mr. Trevor Lawrence. So, yeah. But I'm not ready to call him a bust yet, though, right? It's still early in his career. I just get heavy Stafford and Detroit vibes. Like, give him a clean slate. I know, it's so lame to say it again. Oh, it was Urban Meyer's fault, now. But I this Jags team makes me sad, man. I just weirdly love the Jaguars so much. Like, I'm about to get like a Jacksonville Jaguars t-shirt or something. I seriously, like, they're one of my favorite teams. I can't lie. But no, I can't pick them to win this game. Even if I've spent this whole time saying Houston stinks and maybe the Jaguars are good. Like, no. I got to give Houston some credit, right? Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter might combine for like 5 sacks today, and that'll be enough to get the job done. I mean, their pass rush is still good. Their receivers are sick. Like, Houston will get it done. But what if? What if? Meet hypothetical man. Give me freedom. Give me fire. Give me the Titans or I'll retire. Meet hypothetical man. Sorry. Look who I've become. If. What if? What if? The Trevor Lawrence story. I'm having too much fun. All right. Cardinals, Commanders, another little grudge match talking about coaches. We've got Jack in here. Let's go. Saying, hey, Doc, welcome to the stream, Jack. Good to have you in here. Good football morning. In for a good one here. You missed my Jags monologue, probably for the best. Jaguars 14-3 incoming. I love your attitude, Game Solved. I love your attitude. Talking about some Walmart money. It is crazy to think about how poor they are in comparison to some of the other teams. Yeah, the Walton family out here running the Broncos, right? Like an episode of Succession, kind of. AFC South is a disaster. They've been disappointing. I thought this was going to be one of the best divisions in football. Just hasn't happened yet, though, has it? Clemson QBs just don't get it done. Yeah, they really haven't. And you can think of like a few examples. There's a certain someone in Cleveland who's far, far worse than Trevor. But, yeah, it's kind of tough, right, for the Clemson quarterbacks. But it does matter. Look at Fields. Fair enough, right? Situation does matter a lot. And it can be easy for me to say, well, if Trevor was on the Rams with Sean McVay and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, like, okay, but he's not, But, yeah, I mean, it matters some. It does matter some. Last year, he was dead last in fourth quarter passer rating. Now he's first in the NFL. Just won a game with his passing in the fourth quarter versus the Chargers' top 5 defense. Talking about Fields. Yeah, again, that throw to Calvin Austin was pretty nice, I got to say. It was pretty nice. Double A saying now for an even more disappointing franchise, the Cardinals. Literally the oldest franchise in the NFL, and they don't have a Super Bowl. So tough. So tough. Jack saying, how about that Georgia game last night? Good thing I stopped watching after the first. I mean, bad thing. I mean, obviously, like, if you're cheering for Georgia, right? But honestly, hey, maybe easy for me to say, right? Like, obviously, I was sad Georgia lost, but, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not nearly as ride or die for them as I am for, like, the Vikings. And, like, some people have some fun with that. Some of my friends from Georgia, like, you don't like your school? It's like, okay, well, hold on. Well, all right, hold on. But, again, if I'm going to play the neutral football enjoyer card, that game was so sick. Was that not just the sickest game ever? My goodness. How about that 17-year-old Ryan Williams for Alabama? Bro like doesn't know what a VHS is, and he like went for 160 yards against Georgia. I mean, that's just crazy. But yeah, that was such a tease to like lead for 12 seconds, and then Bama answers right back, and then you get down there at the end and then throw the pick. It's tough. That's tough. How doesn't a team like Georgia have a better quarterback? I mean, it's not like they haven't been recruiting good quarterbacks, right? Like they had Justin Fields, but then they didn't play him and he left. And they had Brock Vandagriff, but he couldn't beat out Stetson, rightfully so, because they were winning with Stetson. And Brock Vandagriff was like one of the top quarterback recruits in the entire country. And then he transferred to Kentucky because he wasn't playing here, right? And so it's just like, all right, next man up, Carson Beck. Like he's been there a while. He knows the offense. He won the competition, right? They almost had the Patrick Mahomes regen, Dylan Raiola, but then he flipped to Nebraska, right? It is kind of interesting though. Like they haven't had like crazy quarterback play, all things considered, right? But Jack saying because they decided to pay Beck a boatload of money to come back, man, at a Lambo, they need a quarterback that has drive, not one who drives a Lambo. Henry said Eric's fourth favorite team, Georgia. Nah, they've passed Atletico Madrid at this point. I won't kid myself. I low-key have not been following Atleti like that much at all recently. It's kind of weird. After the World Cup, I haven't been following as much soccer. It's like, dude, they're like soccer has peaked after this sick World Cup, but they're probably 3 now, I would say, right? I'm a little upset with the Twins right now, though. Not to get too off track here. Dude, I'm fed up with the Twins. You know what? Like, obviously, I wanted them to make the playoffs, right? Because then, like, you can be delusional. Like, well, what if we're the Diamondbacks, right? Dude, I'm sorry. We got what we deserved. We made the sandwich. Oh, we're going to cut payroll after one of the most exciting seasons ever. Just let our guys go. Trade deadline. Oh, our payroll issues. Sorry, we can't make a trade. Here's one reliever. Yeah, we got what we deserve, dude. I hope ownership, it's not going to happen because this is how ownership has been since they've been there. But I hope they take a hard look in the mirror and realize that, like, this is, like, they did this. And I get, like, the team just needs to play better, right? We wilted down the stretch. I'm going to point my fingers at the ownership, though. The ownership did it again, huh? Like, dude, I'm so fed up with the Twins right now. Like, I'm just, like, angry. I wore my Twins hat yesterday for a little bit. I was like, I don't deserve to have this on my, or they don't deserve to be on my head right now. Anyways, that's enough angry baseball ranting. But, yeah. Georgia's probably third at this point. I won't kid myself. I do not hate my own school. That's what I'll say. It's just different, you know. They might be fourth. I don't know. There's another team. We're not going to have that conversation right now. There's another college team. I don't know. Anyways. Commanders versus Cardinals. Another potentially fun game right here, right? We're looking at another game where there might be some points, you know. Given my whole Commanders defense still stinks take. Probably true, right? This Cardinals offense has been rolling. I think they're a little bit better than their 1-2 record would indicate, right? Played Buffalo pretty close, played the Lions pretty close, absolutely demolished the Rams. They've got a great quarterback. They've got some good receivers. The running game hasn't been quite as good as anticipated, which is a little bit surprising, right? We thought, oh, this is a team that's going to pound it. The running game was so good last year. Drew Petzing, their offensive coordinator, run game mastermind, hasn't quite been there yet. Maybe it'll come. Trey McBride out for this game. Just seeing that now, right? Cardinals defense isn't exactly great either, but they've at least been trying. They've been a little bit creative, right? Jonathan Gannon will do some funky, weird things with Zaven Collins, right? Former off-ball linebacker, just built like a tank, put him at edge now, but they'll still drop him back in coverage. They'll put out some weird fronts like, 5-1, 6-1 front, stuff like that, right? They get a little crazy with it. And how about Dennis Gardeck, who I've just been informed by some podcasts I've been listening to? I need to pay more attention to Dennis Gardeck because some people smarter than me are saying Dennis Gardeck has been playing well, that person being Nate Tice. So unironically going to be keeping my eyes on Dennis Gardeck this week because he's been getting gassed up on like film nerd football Twitter. So name to watch out for, right? But you know, I mean, they've got some guys, but really this is a battle of two offenses, right? Two good looking offenses, two not so good looking defenses. Jack is saying, or not Jack. Wow. Parachamp. I'm reading Jack's comment too. Parachamp saying Kyler Murray versus Kyler Murray Jr. A little bit, right? I mean, you look at like two air raidy quarterbacks, right? Two of Cliff's proteges, right? Two guys that are not afraid to run, but also have good arms. Like Jaden Daniels giving him props. Good, accurate throw of the ball. And Kyler Murray, dude. He's just so fun to watch when he's locked in. I love Kyler Murray so much. He's the dude I'd easily slide in over Trevor in my top 10 now. For sure, right? I am going to go with the Cardinals in this one, right? I mean, you know, Jack is saying Benjamin St. Juste about to lock up Marvin Harrison Jr. How do we tell him? I don't know about that. I'm excited to get 25 points from Marvin Harrison Jr. in some of my fantasy leagues this week. I got to ask, maybe there's something I'm missing, or maybe this is just like all in good fun and it's a nice bit that I don't know about. I'm curious because you've been hyping up Benjamin St. Juste a lot now. What is the deal with Benjamin St. Juste and you, Jack? Like, why do you like him so much? I'm looking at like what college he went to. Minnesota. Didn't know that. Casual alert, right? Although I don't claim that the Gophers are like my favorite college team or anything. I'm curious if there's a reason why, or if it's just like, it's Benjamin St. Juste. But I wouldn't count on that. That's what I'll say. We saw what Jamar Chase did last week. We've seen what Mike Evans did to this team. He has a cool name, respect. You know what? Sometimes that's all you need, right? Benjamin St. Juste. That is a pretty sick name. I can't hate that whatsoever. But Nah, and I do wonder, like, maybe the run game won't get going again this week, right? This Commanders front, all things considered, the secondary is pretty tough, but the front is still stout with Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. And you've got Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner shooting gaps, right? Like, you could get some plays in the backfield maybe against this run game, but I just think if Kyler needs to throw the ball 40 times today, he totally can. He absolutely can, and they'll have their way. He's just like, they didn't have the best game against the Lions last week, but they still had some nice plays. And there's just too much talent. Marvin Harrison Jr., even Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch have been nice, right? The Dortcher Chamber, let's go. Talk about a football hipster favorite right there. But I just think, I don't know, having one of these corners on Marv is just a little bit too much to ask, whether it's St. Juice or the rookie Sandra still, right? I mean, Noah Igbenogany is in the slot. I don't know. But it is a little Cliff Kingsbury revenge game. I mean, could you imagine Cliff Kingsbury getting a win against his old team? He was kind of unceremoniously let go right there, right? Cliff Kingsbury's getting some pop and some love right now. The offense is looking pretty good. You know, I got to say, Cam Taylor-Britt was saying, oh, this is a college offense. He's kind of right. It is. It's still the same. Like, it was still the same thing last week schematically. It was screens, hitches, and goes. The difference is the Bengals couldn't stop it, right? So it actually worked. I would say the Cardinals defense isn't like much better than the Bengals. It's a little bit better, right? Commanders have been great all season moving the ball between the 20s. They've still struggled to like finish off in the red zone a little bit. But I don't know. We could see some points in this one too. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I'm still just not all the way there with the Commanders as a whole yet. I know they're 2-1. They're fun right now. Sometimes I just got to be the fun police a little bit and be like, all right, I'm seeing like, yo, Jaden Daniels next CJ Stroud. Let me see this a few more weeks first. Stroud had one of the greatest rookie seasons ever. Stroud is like unbelievable. I was like, let's wait a second. Let's wait a second first. But another good game here. I'd get a little bit closer. Like, okay, maybe the Commanders are like actual players here in like the division or the wild card race. I'm not quite there yet though. I still don't trust this defense. And I'm still just not all on board with what the Commanders are doing on offense is sustainable. I know that's kind of a lame take. Like, well, you know, they're not going to be able to like do that every week. I don't know. I'll give him some credit though. Again, Daniels has been pretty good and he's already proven me wrong. Like even if Daniels is rough for like the rest of the season, I'm willing to take my L that, like, you know what, he wasn't a complete disaster, right? I was just straight up wrong about him. I've been straight up wrong about him so far. So I have no issue saying that, right? He seems like a good enough dude, right? Nothing against him, obviously, but that was just my take. It's not aging the best so far. So I will eat a little bit of humble pie. So let's talk about some Patriots 49ers as we check chat here. I've seen a few interesting things being said in there that I'd love to get to here in a sec. Benjamin St. Jude's sounded like a children's hospital. Benjamin St. Jude's. Yo, let's go. Look at that. St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Shout out the children, right? How about it? Most talented DB since Prime Sherman. Crazy. Kyler likes to write letters, says Double A. Hey, maybe he won't write back, though. I don't know where I was going with that. Henry saying, with how the 49ers and Rams are looking, the Cardinals might have a chance for the division. How about the Seahawks too, right? I mean, the 49ers are a little wounded. You got to think that maybe they'll turn things around a little bit. We're about to talk about the 49ers here, but I mean, they're 1-2, right? That's worth something. And the Rams banged up. They're 1-2 as well. No, this division is wide open right now. And the Seahawks, man, the Seahawks are playing some good football. We won't get to them today since we'll be going live for that game tomorrow night. Seahawks are playing some good football right now, though. Geno Smith is playing some great football. Mike McDonald's got this defense hooping. It's very fair to get excited about the Seahawks right now. It absolutely is. You're right, Double A and Jack, right? Like, and the the Cardinals are, I think they're players too. Like, I like this Cardinals team. Not quite there with their defense over like Seattle, maybe. But, I mean, the offense is so sick. I would love to see a nice little Cardinals-Seahawks game and see where these two teams are exactly at. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know about 17-0, but they're playing some good ball right now, man. They really are. Like, they're really hitting, like, their best outcome right now. But the NFC West is very interesting. The two favorites are off to slow starts and they're injured. So there is a bit of a door open, I will say. Yeah, and you're right. You know, that is something to worry about. Seahawks defensive line is just like absolutely wiped off the face of the earth. But on the other end, no Frank Ragnow either. So we'll see about that. But here we go. We have the Patriots and the 49ers. I already opened that in another tab. Whoopsie daisy. But the Patriots, my golden boy, Jacoby Brissett. Man, I have some of the weirdest agendas that I push, right? Like, okay, the Trevor one we all know about. That one's good fun, right? Here I am, Mr. Jacoby Brissett too, and I'm about to do it again. It's not his fault. It's not Jacoby's fault. I'm not saying Jacoby's been amazing, right? But, I mean, really the big thing is this is just not a functional offense right now for the Patriots, right? This offensive line is horrid. It's like worse than like I think a lot of people maybe even expected. And the receivers are still not that great. I mean, okay, the offensive line is all right in run blocking, horrid in pass protection. And like Brissett is not very mobile to begin with, so that's just not a good recipe. Brissett's out there getting killed. You want to talk about a guy that like might get hurt? It's Brissett, unfortunately. Like it would not shock me if like Brissett got hurt in this game. Looking at Nick Bosa on the other side, like, yeah. And the Patriots' offensive line is still like injured too. So, and it turns out Demario Douglas, Pop Douglas, Jalen Polk, KJ Osborne, Hunter Henry, Tyquan Thornton, Javon Baker, that's just not quite bad enough on offense at the receiver position. The run game is not bad when they can like actually get it going, right? Ramondre's been all right. The run blocking has been all right, right? They definitely like to run downhill on you, and that's going to be their key to success here in this 49ers game if they want to actually like be a serious competitor in this one, right? The 49ers, we've talked a little bit about how they weren't that great against the run last year. And they lose Eric Armstead. And there's no Dre Greenlaw. Now they're without Hargrave too, and they're already kind of light up front. It's like, this is one of those games where like if you're the 49ers, you want to get up early. Do not let the Patriots be able to run the ball on you. Because I tell you what, if it's a one-score game going into the fourth quarter and the Patriots can pound it, you get a little nervous, right? That's how they lull you to sleep. That's how they beat the Bengals, right? Just lull you to sleep. Another 3-yard carry for Ramondre. It's ugly. It's boring. And then all of a sudden, Ramondre gets 7 yards on 3rd and 3, and then they're moving the chains again, and then they chew up clock. And it's basic and it's cliche, but that is what they're going to have to do if they want any fighting chance in this game. I like this Patriots defense enough. I really do, right? All things considered, Garrett Wilson won a few snaps against Gonzo, but for the most part, man, Christian Gonzalez is the truth. I see all pros in this dude's future, 110%. He's awesome, right? The whole secondary is pretty awesome with Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar and Marcus Jones, and Jonathan Jones is questionable, but like these are all good players, right? Keon White looking like a pretty good edge player right now, right? I mean, I don't think that they're going to like shut down this 49ers offense. Like that's just too hard to do. But they're still a little banged up right now. CMC, I think Kittle and Debo are both supposed to be back, which is big. Trent is questionable, but he should still play, right? So they're almost back to full strength now, right? Outside of CMC. So that's good if you're the 49ers. Let's see this machine in action a little bit, right? And I got to give some credit to Purdy, man. He continues to impress. Like, last week was honestly one of Brock Purdy's best performances, I think, all things considered. He's out there diming up Juwan Jennings, and Jennings is a good player, but like Purdy showed his creation ability. I do think, especially at home, the 49ers still are just a little bit too much, even though it's an interesting matchup, and it could be a trap game like Double A is saying, maybe a trap game for the Silicon Valley Kings. There is some slight trap game potential. I will say, if you want a crazy off-the-wall upset, it's probably going to be either this game or the Jags-Texans game. If you really want to get crazy with it and be like, you know what, Patriots upset, I can almost see the vision, right? If their defense really comes to play and it's close and they can run the ball, I can see it. I'm not willing to go that far, though, right? Same with the other upset pick, right? I'm picking the Texans and I'm picking the 49ers. These might be interesting games, though. You got red zone on, right? It might be like, fourth quarter. Wait, what the heck? Patriots are down 4, and they've got the ball. That's weird. And then they end up punting or something like that. But Nick Bosa might have 3 sacks today against this offensive line. And again, Jacoby just can't move. He's just getting killed every drop back. And the stats are ugly. And I'm not saying Brissett is amazing again, right? what could he possibly do in this offense? And it makes sense. They've got him as a sacrificial lamb. You'd rather have Brissett get just absolutely killed out there than May and kill his confidence. And May came in for a drive last week and they kind of moved the ball, but May was getting hit like just as much, if not more. May was getting drilled out there. You can't put him behind this offensive line right now. You just can't, right? They're just not, this team is just not good enough to like have a good offense no matter who the quarterback is. I'm sorry. Tom Brady walks through that door. Like, okay, cool. Maybe they're an average offense. I don't know, man. It's just, yeah, you can only expect so much right now. But I'll go 49ers. I'll go 49ers 21, Patriots 13. How about that? A one-score game. Patriots cover, but just kind of a gross one. Just kind of a gross one, you know. Don't love it for the Patriots, I will say. All right, a few more games. Oh boy, Browns Raiders. Let's have a Browns conversation. Ruh-roh raggy. Cleveland Browns. Dude, it might be close to over for them. Jack says if the Niners lose today, I might just run down my street naked until I get arrested. Please don't get arrested, bro. We need you. But I think you should be safe from that. But what if? Anyways, Browns versus Raiders. You know, I originally picked the Raiders in this one, but then I saw that both Devontae Adams and Max Crosby are out for the Raiders, and it's like, all right, they're without like their two best players. I can't pick them. I just can't. Crosby is doubtful, but he's not going to play, and Adams has already been ruled out. Right. The Raiders have been such a weird team so far. They were in it against the Chargers, and then, you know, they had that hilarious decision to punt, right? And then they somehow beat the Ravens after looking like they were going to get the doors blown off them for a little bit, right? And then they got dunked on by the Panthers, and Antonio Pierce is saying guys are making business decisions. Right? Already not looking good for the Pierce regime a little bit. Like, you know, Parent Sham saying the first tie game of the season. This game does have tie energy, doesn't it? This game has the energy of like a 23-23 tie. I could see that. This game does have tie energy, but no, the Raiders are just a little bit too banged up, I think. I thought like, oh, Crosby's healthy. Deshaun Watson might get sacked 7 times or something like that, right? Browns coming off a game where Watson got sacked like 8 times against the Giants, and the offense just looks so unserious right now. It really does. I'm sorry. Watson is horrible. Like are there 3 worse starting quarterbacks in the NFL than him? Probably not. And you know what? The rest of the weapons aren't good enough to make up for it. Cooper is good. Njoku is good. Njoku's out though. But that's it. Like Judy and Elijah Moore, the reclamation projects haven't worked out. Offensive line banged up. Both their tackles out. Oh, what if the Raiders still won even without Crosby? Dude, both their tackles are out. The Browns' tackles are out. I might flip back to the Raiders. I'm a little tempted. Jack's saying the Raiders do have Brock Bowers. Raiders win 56-0. If the Raiders can get Bowers going a little bit, right? And I'm hoping maybe with Devontae out, we really see them feed him today. He's a dude that's looked like the truth so far. He's looked awesome, right? Get him the ball a little bit, right? JOK is good, but he's more of a big play kind of guy that just goes downhill. He's not quite as great in coverage. Believe me, I know Jordan Hicks is not that great in coverage. And then Devin Bush at linebacker. Maybe this is a Brock Bowers game. Maybe you pick on these Browns linebackers a little bit. Now, obviously, they've got Myles Garrett leading this nasty defensive line, and like, well, you got to survive that first and foremost. Dude, screw it. I'm going back. I'm picking the Raiders. I'm going to switch my pick. I'll try and remember to switch it up before the game start. I am going to go with the Raiders, dude. This Browns offense is horrible. Their tackles are out. Njoku is out. This Raiders defense, even without Max Crosby, is still not that bad. They did get dunked on last week, but honestly, dude, I don't know. Get Bowers the ball and feast on Watson. I mean, can the Browns score more than like 20? I don't know, dude. I'm going to switch it up and go with the Raiders. Give me the Raiders 23-20. Game-winning kick from Daniel Carlson. I'm going to switch it up and go with the Raiders. Wow. All right. I'm going back to my original pick, even without Crosby and Devontae. That's crazy. Got another grudge match here. We'll get to a sec. Ted is in here. Let's go, Ted. Welcome to the stream. Saying, sup, doctor. Hope you're doing well, Ted. Good to have you in here. It's grudge match week. We got another one, the Chiefs and the Chargers. This is one of those games where just like, dude, they're always close. They're always close, no matter how good one of the teams is and how bad the other team is. They're always coming down to the very end. And that seems to be every Chiefs game now too, right? Speaking of squeakers, I love the squeaker term right there. That's a TED phrase right there. In a squeaker. I'm with you with the Raiders in a squeaker. But the Chiefs have been winning some squeakers here recently, right? They had a squeaker against the Falcons last week. And the offense, man, the narratives are crazy right now, right? Oh, the offense is broken. It doesn't look as good. They're not hitting their explosive plays. Travis Kelce's not getting the ball. The Swifties are upset, right? Oh, man, it's been crazy, right? And yet they're 3-0. And yet they're 3-0. The defense still looks as good as ever. I'm seeing some crazy Mahomes talk on my Twitter timeline. Well, he's thrown a lot of interceptions recently. It's like, yeah, it's true. Like statistically, he has not been as good, right? But come on, right? As I always like to say, good thing I have eyes. Like it's not been pretty. It's not been perfect, but come on, dude. Like, let's not kid ourselves here, right? Come on, right? But, it's not been like the greatest show on turf or anything. They've been like, by all accounts, a very average offense and a very good defense. Like this is, in some ways, right? The Chiefs are kind of a boring team, but it's fascinating because like they more or less were forced to turn into this with how teams would play them. And the Chiefs are like, all right, cool. We're fine with that. We'll live with that. We're going to be better at this like methodical, not always easy to watch on TV brand of football. We're going to have a sick defense, a sick offensive line, and just throw like slants to Rashee Rice the whole game. And you know what, man? It works because defenses know the second they give them a shot to take it downfield, they still will, right? We saw it last year. Like when they would get a chance, they'd still go to MVS downfield. MVS would drop it, but like it was there and Mahomes would make the throw. So they're just like so scared of that still now, right? And like, no Hollywood Brown for the year, which stinks, dude. I was so excited to see him in this offense. And Xavier Worthy hasn't quite been that big of a factor. He's had a few nice plays, but again, like he's getting like 2 catches a game. His lone receiving touchdown was on busted coverage. Again, Mr. Fun Police here, like, well, actually, he's only touching the ball a few times and it's busted coverage. But like, like he hasn't been like that big of a factor, to be honest. It's the Rashee Rice show. And again, no Kelce. And as Henry is saying, this is a big turning point for him. If he doesn't get right this game, he might officially be cooked. I will not quite go there yet, though, because, and it's tough, right? He looked cooked last year. Like he looked like not even just like, oh, he's not putting up numbers, but like he looks good. Nah, dude, he looked slow last year. He looked clunky out there and he wasn't putting up big numbers, right? But then, like, it's truly unbelievable what happened in the playoffs. The more and more you think about it, like, if the playoffs didn't happen, I would probably already say it's over for Kelce. Like, it's just over, right? He's had a great long career, but he's like 34. Tight end is a very physically taxing position. Whatever. Like, he's not even the best tight end on his team anymore. Welcome to the Noah Gray show. But he, like, it's inexplicable, like how he just somehow learned to be fast again in the playoffs. Like, I truly can't explain it, right? Like, that catch he had in the Super Bowl is one of the highest speeds he's ever hit in miles per hour, according to Next Gen Stats, right? Like, and he looked dominant out there in the playoffs. So it's like, well, maybe some of it is load management, right? They're not putting him out on the field as much. And as dumb as this might sound, maybe the Chiefs are like saying like, hey, go like 70% in the regular season. Like, who cares? We control in the regular season. Like, we need you at 100% in the playoffs. Like, there is actually a chance that they're doing that. So until like the playoffs roll around and Kelce's not doing that, like if that happens, like, okay, he's cooked. But even if he goes out there today and has like 3 catches for 20 yards, I'm still not quite there yet, just because we saw this same story last year. Although I will say against the Chargers last year, he did have like his best game of the season. So, and it is a fairly nice matchup, especially with no Derwin James out there for the Chargers, right? He's suspended for a game, right? Chargers defense is certainly playing better. Good coaching. Love the Jesse Minter hire. But again, there's just not a whole lot in the toolbox yet. This is a part of the rebuild, right? Just have to be realistic. You can only get so much in one offseason. I do like this pass rush, and I do think it could be an interesting matchup, right? This Chiefs offensive line is really good up the middle. They're really good run blocking, and for the most part, they're good in pass protection. But the left tackle has been a little bit of a concern, right? Kingsley Suamataia, their rookie, is a guy that a lot of people were high on. He's had a rough start so far. So now it's back to Wanya Morris at left tackle, who's going to be going up against some sort of mix of, well, I guess Bosa's out. Surprise, surprise. I missed that, but He seems to always get hurt. All right, it might be Wanya Morris against Khalil Mack. But, I mean, that's just one matchup, right? I think overall, if you're the Chiefs, right? All right, Carson Steele, Samaje Perine, and Kareem Hunt, sure, make it work. I mean, you've got such a good interior offensive line, you probably can. And then just like, another 5-yard slant to Rashee Rice, another 5-yard slant to Rashee Rice. That's what they do, man. And it's going to be close. And the Chargers are going to find a way to make it interesting, although I don't love them having Herbert out there. He's questionable, but they say he's going to play. But he is getting battered around last week. And now you got big Chris Jones coming to town. And you got big George Karlaftis coming to town. I don't love that. Joe Alta is doubtful and Rashawn Slater is out. I know you're 2-1 and you're trying to be competitive and steal a game at home against your rival, but dude, you better hope Justin Herbert survives this game, because now the bookend tackles, that's like the strength of this team, are out. This Chiefs defense is good. Dude, are you sure you want Justin Herbert out there? Are you sure? I mean, I think that alone is enough to make me feel pretty good about the Chiefs here, right? I just think Herbert's going to get hit a lot, and they might just have to turn to the run. Even if they're down, like, we just need to give it to Dobbins and Gus, because we can't have Herbert die out here, right? Like, so I will go with the Chiefs. Hot take, right? Chiefs moved to 4-0, but I'll go Chiefs. I'll go Chiefs 25, Chargers 20, but, like, they control the game for the most of it. Jack's theory is drugs for Kelsey. I mean, hey, maybe they got him hopped up on a little secret formula right there. Maybe. I mean, who knows? But it is like, wow, Kelsey all of a sudden is fast again. It is interesting. There's a greater than zero chance that maybe that's at play. You never want to think about that, right? You want to think that the NFL is a good, honest, squeaky clean league where no one cheats ever, but probably not true. Yeah. T Swift is a confirmed witch. Hey, she's got magical powers, right? Just it's the opposite of a curse, right? She's put like a blessing on the Chiefs. The T Swift effect, right? Every time it's a close game, they shake it off. Wow, I could do better than that. Anyways, one more game to talk about here in the Sunday slate, right? We've got a good one. I like Ted's prediction, OT win for the Chiefs. We've seen that before. I could get down with that. Jack has the Chargers winning. A game Harbaugh will win. You know what? Who's got it better than them, right? I would be there for the chaos if the Chargers won this game, though. Oh, man, the alarm bells would sound for the Chiefs. It'd be hilarious, right? They'd be at 3-1, but it's over, right? I do think that the Chargers just have too much of an uphill battle with that offensive line and just, but what if Herbert has like an all-timer or something, or J.K. Dobbins goes crazy, and the Chiefs' offense will troll enough that it'll be close, but it's hard to pick against them, isn't it? It's hard to pick against them. But, all right, one more game for the Sunday slate. Again, we got a good one here. Saw this in the playoffs a few years ago, right? Two teams with championship aspirations, two of the best quarterbacks in the league. One team that honestly looks like the best team in the NFL right now, and that is the Buffalo Bills. It's another week. It's another dominant performance from this offense. The defense looks as good as ever. Let's start with this Bills defense because, man, they deserve a lot of love. They're still without a few guys, right? No Milano till like December. Terrell Bernard is out again. Teron Johnson is out again. But I tell you what, their secondary is just fine, isn't it, right? They lose Poyd. They lose Hyde, or Poyd. Wow, they lose Hyde, they lose Poyer, they lose Trey White. Dude, they're just fine. They are absolutely just fine. How about Damar Hamlin getting an interception, right? How about Taylor Rapp playing some good football? Good player, right? But these corners are unbelievable. These corners are phenomenal. Bills in the running for like best corner duo in football. I truly believe it. Christian Benford. If you're not there yet with Christian Benford, dude, come aboard the train right now. This dude is playing like first team all-pro right now. Unbelievable player. Had a fantastic game against Tyreek. Week in, week out, he's been great. He was good in like smaller sample size last year, a little bit less action out on the field, but they trusted him to kind of take over this year. Unbelievable. And then Rasul Douglas on the other side, great number 2. Their corners are fantastic, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest edges that the Bills have in this game, right? I don't know, man. Like the Ravens receivers are a little bit better, but we've seen them now when they go up against good corners, like against the Chiefs, for example, right? They just don't quite have enough firepower to fight fire with fire. And I just think that like Rasul and Benford might be able to kind of have their way with Flowers, Bateman, and Aguilar a little bit. And the Ravens, it's going to come down to if they can like run the ball, right? We saw Derrick Henry get going last week against maybe a porous Cowboys run defense, although they came to play finally on Thursday. But man, like it's going to have to be on Lamar and Henry with their legs, I think. And that's been the way you can beat the Bills in the past, right? Is, run the ball on them, right? They run a lot of nickel, a lot of too high, just run the ball on them. But this Bills like front has been so good that it hasn't really mattered. Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, and Greg Rousseau have been so good. It's hard to do that even against these lighter fronts. And you're losing Terrell Bernard, which is tough, right? Because he's been a great linebacker. And so you don't have quite as much at the second level. But I tell you what, it's not just been as simple as run the ball on the Bills like it used to be. It's been a little bit harder. Now, if there's a team that can do it, it is probably the Ravens with just the talent that they have carrying the ball. But again, that offensive line is not the best. And I worry about the tackle situation a little bit. And how about Von Miller just like kind of having a renaissance year, right? Rotational pass rusher now, right? Bills can get after the quarterback a little bit. Ravens have kind of had to like take a lot of shorter passes and can't work down the field because they just don't have time, right? And this Bills pass rush is pretty good. So all of that to say, you look at this Bills offense versus the Ravens defense too. Ravens defense has talent. It's not what it was last year. They miss Mike McDonald. They miss some of the guys that they lost. They're very vulnerable over the middle of the field, right? That's what we've seen. And they're very vulnerable against the pass. We've seen some passing offenses have good games against them, right? They almost blew that Cowboys game where they had a big lead because the Cowboys offense roared to life in the fourth quarter, right? Like they've just given up a lot of big plays and their secondary hasn't quite played up to the sum of its parts. And you just look at the way Josh Allen is playing right now, the way that the middle of the field is kind of there versus the Ravens. And you look at you look at Kincaid and Shakir. Oh, they're probably like, let's do this, right? I mean, I don't know. It's just so hard to pick against this Bills team right now. They're going to lose at some point. I see the Ravens are 2.5-point favorites. I get it. It's at home, right? I don't know, dude. It's so hard to pick against this Bills team right now. This is the most balanced, complete team in the NFL, I think. I don't know that there's a single quarterback playing better than Josh Allen right now. Like, obviously, you make your top 10. All right, Mahomes at 1. I'm still not ready to put Allen at 1 yet, right? There's not a quarterback playing better than him right now. This offense is complete. They can run. They can throw. Their defense is good, right? We all know this. This is well established. It's just too hard. I can't pick against them yet. I'm going to go with the Bills in this one. I'll say Bills 28, Ravens 24. Good one, though. I hope it's a good one. But that was the Sunday slate. Jack saying, did someone say Mike McDonald? Hey, I mean, again, right? If you're a Seahawks, you're seeing what he's doing with Seattle, and you're seeing how the Ravens are struggling a little bit without him. It's like, man, what a hire for us, right? What a hire for us. All right. That's the Sunday slate. One final thing to do here. Let's do it. We are on a bit of a heater on Monday night last week, right? We got some nice wins. So let's keep it rocking and rolling with the Pigskin parlay, right? We take dubs here. All this money that we make is going back into the channel, right? We're trying to fund our little pet project right here. I know they still don't have a Caleb Williams free space. Can I go back to the well again? We're going to see if it'll allow us to take it. We'll put a little $5 down right here, right? Caleb, free space. Again, I like DJ Moore. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. He should be available, right? Ain't no way they got rid of him. Ain't no way he's not on the board. There he is. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 58.5 receiving yards. Come on now. He's hit that like every game this year. Going up against, I don't know why they're not showing older. Or do we like fantasy score? I do like going to fantasy score. We'll take that off. But then we'll have to get like another player in there because it'll be like, you can't have two Bears, But Ted says both teams have a lot to play for. Yeah, especially the Ravens, right? If you want to try and like win this division and be a competitor for one of the top seeds, you need to win this game. I know it's early, right? But there's some massive seeding implications in this game. Absolutely. DJ Moore, fantasy score of 12. We'll do that instead so we can get catches. Oh, no, we're going to go back to receiving yards. I'm going to trust my gut here. Come on. Against this Rams secondary. I like that. Again, just a cool little $5. Where'd he go? Did I lose him? Nuts, dude. Where'd he go? No way they took him off the board. There he is. Yeah, well, we'll go back to that. And then we're going to do Andy Dalton over passing yards. Why not, dude? I mean, he's smashed it the last 2 times he's played again. This Bengals defense ain't very good. So this will be the Pigskin parlay. Little $5 down to win 25. We'll take that, right? We've got more money coming in because we've already got 2 Caleb free spaces going today. Let's see if it actually lets me do it. Will it let me do it? Or is it done? Oh, wow. It's just letting me do it. I've done the Caleb free space so much, dude. But we'll take it. We'll take it. All right, let's see my lineups, right? This one is going to hit. He's going to get 1 yard. And this one's going to hit. He's going to hit 1 yard. I like this one, dude. I like this one a lot. But that's the Pigskin parlay. Kind of quick with it. But that's all I've got here for today. Thank you guys so much for waking up with me, tuning in, right? We've got less than an hour to go before the games start, dude. I'm fired up for this Vikings-Packers game. We've got a good one. Jack saying, can you believe this is the first week of the season where Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady are not calling the Cowboys game? Yeah, the new Cowboys announcers, Burkhardt and Brady. Only because they played on Thursday, right? But that's kind of crazy when you think about it. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Go enjoy the games today. We've got a fun slate, right? It's grudge matches galore. The storylines are juicy. There's some fun ones. I'm fired up. Let's have ourselves a freaking football Sunday. Skull Vikings, come on. Let's beat the freaking Packers. But until next time, I will see you guys all tomorrow. Thank you, Henry and Parachamp. We've got some fun Monday night action tomorrow. I'll be going live for that, but I will be sitting on my couch for the rest of the day, turning my brain off and watching some football. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love you guys. You guys have a nice Sunday. Enjoy the games. And until next time, the